All right. We are now indeed live. What is going on, everybody? The Xbox 2 podcast is rocking out with you live on this December 27th, episode number 346. I'm one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19. And with me, we have, as usual, Jez Corton. What's going on, buddy?
Yo, 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 and Merry Christmas to all the boys and girls watching Xbox 2 at this holiest of, well, it's not Christmas anymore.
Holiest of days.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
not
the
even
Fridays
Boxing Day
when
anymore.
Xbox 2 is live is considered among the most holiest days there are. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, well, I suppose even though it's, we're 2 days out from Christmas, we can still consider this the Christmas episode. It's
I mean, it's still the
Christmas
holidays.
week.
I mean, it's Christmas week. We got New Year's next week. It's still technically the holidays, right?
It's still, yeah, happy holidays, happy
And
Christmas.
How many more days
whatever
until
you're
Christmas?
celebrating.
What's the count at now? It was like how many more days?
What, until next year?
Until Christmas comes around again. 361?
I don't know. I don't do math. I failed math, bro. Christmas is... Okay, so I asked Microsoft Copilot how many days until Christmas, right?
Uh-huh.
And he said, Christmas is just around the corner. It's December 27th today. So there are 28 days until Christmas on December the 25th. What the fuck?
AI for you, baby.
Oh my god, man. AI is so cooked, man. I've tried using it for articles and research and stuff like that, and you end up having to double check everything because so often it just talks a load of bullshit. So like, I think we're a few years out from AI taking over the world. But Rand, tell me, buddy, how was your Christmas? Are you full of Christmas cheer, Rand? Are you feeling it, buddy?
Christmas is just like any other day for me. I mean, it used to be something I greatly enjoyed. It used to be something, when I was younger, I would really look forward to, all the spending time with the family, all the presents that would be underneath the tree, things like that, right? But, the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, it really is just any other day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just another day. Is that
what it's like?
I mean, it's one of the few days where the family gets together and has a nice meal, so that's always fun. But we didn't have Thanksgiving this year because everybody was kind of away. But this year we actually had turkey, which is normally what we don't have for Christmas. Usually it's like beef tenderloin, but we had turkey and all that sort of stuff because we basically had Thanksgiving on Christmas this year because we didn't have Thanksgiving, but. Yeah.
I'm gonna shock you.
What?
I've never had roast turkey.
You never had turkey?
I've never had turkey. No. I don't know how that's happened. I've just never. I've had slices of sandwich meat turkey, but never like proper turkey as part of a roast meal or something like that. Usually for Christmas in my house in England, I have mac and cheese.
Okay, mac and cheese is good.
Mac and cheesemas, bro. But this year we didn't have Christmas lunch. We didn't have Christmas dinner. We had Christmas brunch because everyone was super busy on the evening. So that was a bit strange this year. But yeah, it was still nice and chill. Had some time off work, recharge the old batteries, play some games, and then hanging out with my good buddy Rand.
Yes.
To cap off the week.
Well, I mean, originally you did a show on Monday, Xbox 2 +1 -1 +1.
Yeah, +2
with Sick Mechanico from Xbox Era and Luke from the expansion podcast, Xbox expansion podcast, because I couldn't make the show. I had something happened, so I had to go do that. So for anybody who there's content out there if you want to listen to the discussion between those guys, but. Yeah, I mean, Christmas is just, it's whatever.
It's whatever.
You asked me, did I get anything for Christmas when you came in pre-show? And I didn't get a single thing. And it's been like that for the past, I don't know, like 10, 20 years.
That's no fun.
I mean, It is what it is.
Oh, well,
It
Rand,
is.
you've
It
got
is what it is.
some people in the chat sent you some memberships.
Yeah. We got
Sent you some memberships for
you got
Christmas.
Christopher Williams joining the channel, and we got 5 gifted subs from Mecha Gojira.
Oh, Mecha Godzilla. I still haven't watched the new Godzilla movies, man. I need to
You
get
need to
on that
watch
shit.
Godzilla -1.
Yes,
Absolutely
I keep hearing
incredible.
about that.
I mean,
Hearing about that.
Godzilla versus Kong, or Kong and Kong X Godzilla, or whatever the hell that one's called, the New Empire. I mean, those are nice little fluff action movies that without any, I don't know, it's just kind of, they're just nice to watch, like 2 big huge monsters destroy, cities and stuff and have big fights. But Godzilla -1 was extraordinary.
It does sound really good.
It is. It is fantastic.
It's definitely high up on my list of things to watch. But I've been trying, Rand. Speaking of backlogs, I've been trying to finish Persona 5 before the end of the year. I put a further 20. Yeah, I got a few more days. Few more days. I put a further like 20 hours into the game. So, I'm getting there.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Yeah, and so I'm still enjoying it. I've been also, but I got this thing, man. I've realized that I can't just concentrate on one game. Well, I think I knew that, but like even when I try and concentrate on one game, I can't do it. So I've been playing like loads of random games. I've been playing Final Fantasy 1 on cloud,
okay.
which is fun and interesting to experience some gaming history. But I've also been playing because of the trailer from I was going to say CES then, but we're not quite CES yet. From the Game Awards, on the Onimusha trailer was one of my favorite trailers of the show. And yeah, I realized
Resident Evil with swords. How you like it?
Yeah, I never played it back in the day, but there's
never
Onimusha
played it, never
Warlords.
liked it. Never liked it, never played it.
What you didn't?
No, I'm just it's a meme. Just go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
So you're playing.
What does that mean? I don't know that.
Don't worry about it. Just you're playing. So you're playing the game.
I'm playing the HD version.
Okay.
Yeah, the HD version on Xbox. Never played it before. It holds up really well, I think. It's not the longest game in the world. I think I'm on the last boss now at like 5 hours, something like that. I kind of fucked myself though, Rand.
Uh-oh.
Because I didn't realize like there was pretty much a finite amount of health items in the game. So now I'm on like the last boss with no health items except for the one you find outside the room. And a lot of the guides are like, because I did look up a guide to find one item in the game. And because I couldn't figure out, there's part of the game where you have to click on a pull chain, and I couldn't figure out how to click on it. But I think because the perspective of the room is weird with the fixed camera angles, right? But then I was looking at the guides and it was like, make sure you save as many health items as possible for the last boss. And I'm like, oh shit. I haven't saved any. So I kind of like, I've got to kill the boss with like almost do a perfect run to kill the final boss. But the game's really awesome. It does have the classic Resident Evil sort of tank controls, but the game has a surprising amount of depth. There's like a lot of, I find there's a lot of like hidden hack and slash moves that you can pull off in amongst the Resident Evil-esque nature of it. But atmosphere is great and on point. It's really nostalgic if you're a fan of classic Resident Evil. So I'm really hopeful that the new game kind of lives up to that. So, but that's pretty much me for what I've been playing this holiday season. What have you been catching up on your backlog, Rand, my buddy, your pal?
I mean, I haven't really been playing much. I kind of been catching up
Reading
on.
books.
I usually use December to catch up on TV shows and stuff. So.
Oh, what have you been watching?
I mean, I finished Arcane season 2, which was pretty incredible. Although also they went through the plot lines pretty fast. I guess it's the last season, and like it just ended, kind of just out of nowhere. But for the most part,
yeah,
like,
the rumors are that they absolutely completely mullered their budget and it's not going to make any money.
Yeah,
so
I
would
did
imagine
see
that's
some
probably
of that.
why.
Like it was really super expensive or whatever. But
yeah,
yeah, and I watched a couple other movies and a couple other TV shows and stuff. But that's what I usually use November for. I'm kind of debating in my head what game I want to play next. Like what like longer game I want to play next, and it's really kind of coming down between Metaphor, ReFantasia, and like Yakuza Like a Dragon. and I just haven't really
Yeah.
decided. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw out a Twitter poll one of these days and let the people vote for what game I should play next. Because there's a few, and it's just I don't know. There's a part of me that really wants to try out Metaphor, but then there's a part of me that's also like, damn, that's like 150 hours or whatever, and it's sort of like that's a long time to,
Yeah.
Plus, even though I've only played the demo for a couple hours and I did like it, I was kind of like, would I like the whole thing? Because I haven't really played a turn-based RPG. Because I do hear like it's actually difficult, the battles, like the turn-based stuff, and we'll see. So I might play that. I might just be like, screw the poll. I'm just gonna play Metaphor, right? I want to see what this game is all about and what everybody talks about, and maybe eventually get into Yakuza Like a Dragon at some point.
I've only heard good things about Metaphor, and the director of the game, was recently in the news for saying that he hopes Metaphor can become a third pillar franchise for Atlas.
Yes, I did see that. And we got people in chat saying I need to play Metaphor. The Black Viking says play Metaphor, Rand. I know you out there banging the drums for Metaphor. I see it constantly. Tyrone says the same thing. Metaphor is a great game. And I did try out the demo and I did like it. So it's just they're both franchises where I was like, I think I'd like them. I did play a little bit of Yakuza Like a Dragon because I remember getting that game as part of our review kit for the Xbox Series X, but there was a glitch and I couldn't progress. And I liked what I had played of it. So there's a part, and like considering there isn't really a new game that's coming out until Assassin's Creed Shadows and Avowed that I'm really interested in playing. So I was like, well, I have the whole month of January essentially wide open, right? Because I don't think there's anything in January that I'm looking like I'm going to play. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to play Metaphor, I guess now's the time. It's kind of like when I played Cyberpunk in the summer. It was like, there ain't nothing coming out. I know Cyberpunk's going to run me 100 plus hours. So now's the time to play it, right? So...
I've only heard good things about Metaphor, and I've really been resisting just because I've been trying to finish Persona, right? I feel like I'm not allowed to play Metaphor until I finish Persona, but it's been hard to resist, man.
What about the Stalker 2 hype? You're not on the hype train no more for Stalker 2?
No, I am, but again, it's that whole thing. Like I put about an hour into. Nah, I put more than that. I put about 4 or 5 hours into Stalker 2, but it's one of them. It feels like I need to finish Persona because I put so much into it. I feel like I feel like I can't just comfortably play another game to get really sucked into until I finish off Persona. It's gotten to that point for me.
Considering how often you go between playing Persona 5, do you forget like what's going on? Because sometimes you would go months but without playing the game. How do you do that for a game that's so...
Actually, no, because there's a log, so like you can recap stuff, but also like the story's sort of so involved and character driven, it's kind of hard to forget, actually, which I suppose is a testament to the game. Like a lot of games where you do stop playing for a while, it's easy to forget what's going on, but for some reason, I suppose with Persona, because you kind of get to know the characters really, really intimately. I never forgot anything that was going on. I've just realized that now as you've said that, because I did go months without playing it, but I was able to just pick it up and remember exactly what was going on the last time I played it. I don't know why that is. That's interesting. I just thought about that.
I was going to save this for later, but I kind of wanted to make fun of it now. Did you guys enjoy the new Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer that dropped today? Man, the conspiracy theorists are out there working hard, working overtime, hyping people up. Today, 27th, 12/27 was supposed to be the day that Rockstar dropped a new trailer for Grand Theft Auto. And you know what? When I woke up today to get ready for the show, the first thing I did was bring up Twitter, go to Rockstar's page, because clearly all those people couldn't be wrong.
Oh, no.
Clearly. And guess what? The only thing that was there was a tweet saying, buy our games on sale. Oh man, no. how could we be misled so much? There was supposed to be a trailer today for Grand Theft Auto 6.
I'm not really following the Grand Theft Auto stuff that much, but I do have like a couple of follows on Twitter and on other platforms where what's his name? Is it Videotech HD? I think. Is a Red Dead Redemption Rockstar account. So like sometimes I see him trying to like tell people don't overhype yourself, guys. But like meanwhile there's these accounts that are posted like source code updates from the website. And source code got updated. That proves there's a trailer coming and all this stuff. And
dude,
it's like
the voice actor from GTA 5 put out a 5-star, you know, and it's or it's like or it's great. Like people who actually kind of like will take trailers from other things and be like, leak from the GTA 6 trailer, and you see community notes being like, this is not anything from anything. It just
I feel bad, like so sometimes I do get people in my DMs like, do you know anything about Grand Theft Auto? I was like, nah, I've never had even the vaguest slight source to do with Rockstar. I don't think I've ever had anything close to a Rockstar leak, except for like when it's been part of like another show or something, and then the show leaks to me or something like that. But like, man, I feel bad to that fan base. They're like chomping at the bit for anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's been an entire year. I don't think we got any Grand Theft Auto stuff this year. And
it is supposed to be coming out. I mean, in the next year, right?
It's supposed to be set for what, holiday or fall of 2025. And I'm sure maybe we'll get an update when Take-Two has their financial call. I think like early February. Right. You know, but yeah, it's just that's how you know, man. People are fiending, right? And then because of this, because there was no trailer today, now a lot of people are like, oh, it's delayed to 2026. Simply because there wasn't anything today. Because they hyped themselves up and they're like, oh my god, it's going to be 2712 or whatever that was supposed to be, right? So,
it'll come when it's ready, man, and it'll be worth the wait. I mean, is that your most anticipated game for next year?
So it's like most anticipated games for next year. I figure because we're at that point where 2024 is over. Well, maybe we could even do our top 5 games for this year. And then like what we're looking forward to for next year. So if we're going most anticipated, I'm going to stay just for games that are currently scheduled for 2025, even though they could get delayed. What are your most anticipated releases for next year? Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 is my number one, of course. I mean, it's been, at this point, would it be 12 years since Grand Theft Auto 5 in 2013?
12 years.
12 years is a long time. So yeah, that's definitely my most anticipated. Everybody in chat, let us know what your most anticipated games are for next year. So mine are, just going off the top of my head, we have Grand Theft Auto 6. That's like number one. And I guess like the ones after this aren't necessarily in a particular order. Number 2, or at least one after that, is Fable. After you showed me that gameplay stuff of that, and you know, currently, I mean, still scheduled for 2025. Fable's definitely there. Another game, Doom: The Dark Ages, is definitely in my top 5. I cannot wait to see what they do with that. For the longest time, I was like, they have to do something else than Doom. Another Doom, because you know the story wrapped up in the Ancient Gods DLC for Doom Eternal, right? Yeah. And I'm one of the people that think Doom Eternal is better than Doom 2016. I know there is kind of debate because Doom Eternal had a lot of the gymnastics, and also had the game also kind of made you switch up weapons more often than 2016 did. But I found myself, I enjoyed Eternal more than 2016, even though they're both like amazing games, right? So that'd be 3 games. 4, Death Stranding 2. I played Death Stranding when it came out. I wasn't like Jez, who waited until it finally came to Xbox. I actually played it.
That's another game I want to play.
And I really liked it. I mean, I didn't love it. I think I gave it like an 8.5, but there was something very chill about that game. About just, and it's really tough to say because like yeah, the game it's like it's the delivery game. You're walking through these mountainous cliffs and trying to deliver things. There's this weird just calm about I don't know how else to describe it, where it was fun. And you wouldn't think being an Amazon delivery guy would be fun, but yeah, and Kojima always does crazy stuff, so I'm really looking forward to Death Stranding 2 when it comes out next year. And then probably for the last spot there, if I had to pick a game, I'll go with Mafia: The Old Country.
Oh, good point.
I'll go with that one. Off the top of my head, it's a trailer that I remember, pretty well from the Game Awards. I have played Mafia 1 and Mafia 2, and I like them quite a bit. I've been thinking about maybe playing 3 before Old Country comes out, but yeah, I don't know, something about that. Like I did read some news about that game where it's not an open world game, really. It's more. It sounds like it's gonna be more like Mafia 1. In a way, like Mafia 1 was open world, but like each,
it was more story heavy.
Yeah, more story focused and stuff. So those would be my top. But there's a lot more stuff that I'm looking forward to, from Outer Worlds 2 to South of Midnight to Ghost of Yotai to maybe cross our fingers, Hollow Knight, Silk Song maybe. And who knows, maybe Nintendo's going to have some cool stuff that'll make me be like, all right, Metroid Prime 4, so there's a whole bunch of stuff. Assassin's Creed Shadows I'm looking forward to quite a bit. So yeah, it's looking like a good year for me. So what would be the games you're looking forward to the most?
Well, Doom, obviously, and the fact that it looks like it might be going to a more sort of Doom 2016 kind of formula, that's music to my ears, because I am, unlike you, someone who prefers my Doom without the gymnastics personally. So Doom's Dark Ages is well up there. And Monster Hunter Wilds.
Yeah, I know. Monster Hunter Wilds is your number one. And we all know it's your game of the year next year. You don't.
Yeah, it's already my game of the year.
And you're probably already put it in. You're the one reviewing it, so you can play it early, so you can bask in the glow. Yeah, we know.
I am reviewing it. We've got someone on the team that's like if you think I'm into Monster Hunter, they're like super into Monster Hunter, like thousands of hours into it. So I think they will be reviewing the game, but I am going to book time off work for that game. So I don't want to review it. I just want to play it, So Monster Hunter Wilds is definitely up there. I'm also really excited about Clair Obscur, turn-based.
When's that supposed to come out?
It is supposed to come out next year. I don't know.
Isn't it supposed to? Oh, okay. I was wondering if we knew the exact. I thought it was supposed to be early next year.
Yeah, it might be. I can't remember off the top of my head. But what else, man? I'm quite looking forward to.
What about Elden Ring Night Rain?
No, not interested in that.
Not interested at all. Not after all the time you put into Elden Ring this year.
No, I just don't like roguelikes or. I appreciate that they're experimenting, but it's not for me. I just know that it's not for me, man. Okay. I tell you another game I'm looking forward to playing next year, which is technically for me a 2025 game, is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh yeah, I mean I haven't played it yet either, and I was thinking about playing it next year as well.
Well, it's coming out on PC for the first time next year.
Yeah, it comes out on PC in January. I own the game. I have it on my PS5.
But you haven't played it yet.
I haven't played it yet because this year I played Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth aren't coming to Xbox anytime soon. So
yeah, I've got such a weird relationship with Final Fantasy. I have all this sort of nostalgia for it, but at the same time, it's like I don't like the modern games very much. So like the nostalgia that Final Fantasy VII remakes are giving is awesome, but then I also I'm not a huge fan of the story direction they've been taking those games in. So it's weird, right? But I'm still looking forward to it. And And what else for number 5? I don't
No
know.
GTA 6.
I'm not a huge. I like GTA, but
Okay,
I'm nowhere
you're not.
near as
All right,
hyped for it as some
fair
other
enough.
people are. I
Capcom.
can't
Well,
think.
Capcom's got Monster Hunter, so you already said that.
They've
You already said Doom.
What else they got?
Fable.
I'd have to pull up.
What about Fable? No.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to Fable, but I don't know. I'm still kind of like I'm still kind of thinking like, will the humor land for me?
Sure.
I'm really um I'm really like I'm really iffy about um. Sorry, can you say that again? Lost my track of thought.
Fable.
Yeah, Fable. I'm iffy about games that have comedy as a central right feature because I think comedy in games is either like great or it's terrible. So like I'm really not a fan of the Borderlands style humor, for example.
Well,
But
I think there. Yeah, I mean,
sometimes
Borderlands
the games
1
can do
and
humor really
especially
well.
Borderlands 2, the humor was great. Borderlands
Mm.
3's humor was awful, and I did see the lead writer for 4 saying that they are going to cut down on the toilet humor that they used a lot in
Mm.
3. I mean, three's villains were just god awful, and they brought the whole game down. And it's really something when you look back on, you're just like, man, Handsome Jack and his story and his voice actor really elevated Borderlands 2. You know, a good
I
character with great motivations, whether for good or for evil, and
yeah.
someone behind the mic that can bring that character alive. Like the difference between elevating a game and like making the game unenjoyable. There's like that fine line, and
Yeah, there is a fine line.
those
So
villains in Borderlands 3 were just so awful that it almost
yeah.
like ruined everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what they do for 4 though.
Yeah, and I'm someone who didn't even like the humor in Borderlands 1, so so I'm from what I've seen, like the humor does land. I'm just hoping that it's within the context of the Fable universe and the Fable story, and not just like pop culture referential.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
Family Guy style humor, which is like it's never related to the plot. It's always like, remember this fucking pop culture thing that happened, and it's just like, ugh, can't you just actually write a story that has jokes that are relevant to the topic at hand? I think it's lazy, and a lot of video games pull that, pull the meme, go for memes instead of like good writing. I don't know. But I think Avowed is quite high up there because I do like the Pillars universe, but I'm also again a little bit sort of like jury's out kind of thing because our worlds had really good writing, but I really wasn't a fan of the gameplay that much. I don't know. I don't know what I put in my thought. I need to look at a list somewhere.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah, there's
probably do. You probably do have to
yeah.
look over a list to see everything. Because I mean, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that Replaced is finally supposed to come out next year. People have been waiting for that for a long time. It does look super cool, right? Um, but yeah, when you like grab like a list and you're like, okay, what stuff is
Mm.
supposed to be coming out next year?
I mean,
Um,
there's also like um probably a lot of stuff we don't even know. So
oh,
like a
for
lot of this
sure.
stuff is going to shift around. Like Alan Hoey in chat says Yakuza comedy is fire. Yeah, so Yakuza is an example of a game that the humor is good. Also Persona. Persona has like some really
Oh,
great laugh out loud writing.
I'm I'm
Japan is just good at humor, I think.
I'm
Slapstick kind of stuff.
very looking forward to playing Split Fiction, the co-op game that they showed off at the Game Awards. Joseph
Oh,
Farif's game.
yeah.
I really really enjoyed It Takes Two, and I can't like a more fantasy science fiction setting. Like, dude, It Takes Two was great. I mean, it came out of nowhere. Really, like, yeah, like, A Way Out was, or was it? I think it was called A Way Out. Maybe it was No Way Out.
Mm,
Was fun, but man, they really took the next leap with It Takes Two, and I didn't expect it to be that polished and that fun, especially in co-op. And now it's like looks like they're taking the next step and doing a lot more crazier things in that game. So yeah, because I'm looking at a list now and I'm in March and I'm like, oh yeah, Split Fiction's coming out next year, and Killing Floor 3 and the first Berserker and Atomfall, and man, the first
Atomfall
couple months
looks
are
potentially
really
interesting.
they're really packed. The first like 3
Yeah.
months are, but then there's a whole list of like stuff that doesn't have dates yet, right? Like you mentioned, Clarescura doesn't have a date. Borderlands 4 doesn't have a date. Crimson Desert, I think is like I think they said like fall 2025.
Yeah.
Dune Awakening, Elden Ring Night Rain, Eternal Strange. I think it's coming out in January.
Yeah.
Little Nightmares 3.
Almost.
Oh yeah, Little Nightmares
Oh
3 is
yeah,
supposed to be
Little
next year.
Nightmares.
I really like Little Nightmares.
I'm just worried because it's going to be like a different team handling it.
I
'Cause,
do wonder how quickly we will get release dates, or at least how quickly we will get kind of more like release dates once Rockstar decides when Grand Theft Auto is coming out. Like if Grand Theft Auto
Yeah,
at some
people
point
avoiding.
during next year, if they come out and they're like, all right, we're delayed, we're releasing March or April of 2026, well, then you suddenly see a bunch of games being like, we're calling dibs October 10th, we're calling dibs September 15th. You're just gonna get a bunch of games just releasing it because they know they're they dodged a bullet and they don't have to delay their games to early 2026, right? But then I also wonder how many games are just sitting in fear right now? How many companies are sitting in absolute terror at the idea of Grand Theft Auto 6 releasing this fall, and maybe even having a split release, as in campaigns out in September and multiplayer is out mid-October. So it actually has 2 releases where everyone's going to be busy with the campaign and they ain't going to give a shit about any game releasing for a good long while. And then the multiplayer hits the next month and ain't anybody going to give a shit about anything else releasing that month. Like, I wonder how many devs and publishers are sweating bullets right now, just hoping and praying that game gets delayed to 2026,
You're gonna try Red Dead? Not Red Dead. Grand Theft Auto Online 2?
No, I don't care.
No?
Care about that.
Did you ever
Campaign
play
only.
the original?
I did. Yeah, I did. I played it when it first.
It's wildly popular, man.
It is wildly popular. In the beginning when it first came out, there was a lot of problems. But eventually, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, me and my friends always had this like thing about how cool would it be to like do heists in Grand Theft Auto, because that was one of the things they talked about, was having these heists available. And I don't think heists actually came to Grand Theft Auto until like years later online. And by that point, none of my friends. I mean, I didn't even play Red Dead 2 online, and Red Dead Online was something I played quite a bit, not like so much, but I did play a good portion of Red Dead Online. So when the second one came out, I didn't even touch the online. So I really doubt I will even bother to touch Grand Theft Auto Online. I just don't care. Give me this. It's kind of like Call of Duty. I'm in for the campaign, and then I'm out. I don't care about any of that stuff.
I feel you.
Paris in the chat says Fable's gonna get delayed to avoid GTA 6 just for GTA 6 to get delayed to the same launch window. Kind of like Avowed, right? Yeah, we're delaying ourselves over here to avoid this game, and then Assassin's Creed's like, hello. Yeah. I mean, I could totally see that happen, but that's why you don't announce your delay until you know for sure what's happening. All right, so anticipated games, we're done with that. What was your, if you had to give your top five games of 2024 according to Jez Cordon of Windows Central? What are they?
Oh man, that's hard. I mean, I don't think I even played 5 new games this year, man. Or at least not enough to comment on it that much.
Wow.
We're gonna have to go with yours first, I think.
Mine first. Oh, okay.
I played a lot of older games this year, so I don't know. Games that launched this year. Played service games, played older games, hitting the backlog. The game I played the most this year was probably Dragon Age Valguard, ironically, and
you didn't even finish it.
I didn't even finish it because I ended up hating it. That's a game where I've just had to put it down and just say to myself, "Stop playing this. You don't enjoy it."
Yeah. So I guess, all right, fine. I'll give you some time to think about yours. Right. These are games that specifically came out in this calendar year because if they didn't, the number one game would be Cyberpunk 2077, the game of the generation. I said it. I remember I said that on Twitter, and I had a bunch of like PlayStation fans come at me and be like, "Oh, you bots have such low standards." Like, what?
God, that is
It's
that is
funny
a
because
take,
so
man.
I
That
say,
is a
"Hey,
take.
I think this is my game of the generation so far," and I love
It's
how
multi-platform for God's sake.
other people who don't even follow me made sure to put in my opinion that like my opinion's wrong or whatever. And it's like, I'm not saying it's for you. I'm saying it's for me. Like, I don't care what you think. You're a nobody. You don't follow. I don't care what you think is game of the generation. I only care about what I think. It's just hilarious. Like, I don't even know how those people find me. They're like, you have low standards. It's like, really? Because I'm pretty sure Cyberpunk is universally loved after like the 2.0 update and Phantom Liberty for the most part. But
It was
yeah,
good before then.
it's just odd. It's just this weird thing where you could post something on social media and be like, I really love this. And then somebody in the comments be like, that thing is dog shit. You suck. It's like, who does that in real life? I don't understand it. I let people enjoy the things they like. So when they, like Donataku, like he's always big up in Nintendo. And I let him big up Nintendo. I let Donataku enjoy his Nintendo love. But
Are you trolling right now? I think you are.
we let him. We barely ever talk about it. And we let people enjoy the things they like. I mean, how would it be if every time Donataku said something on Twitter about Nintendo, I just came in there like, Nintendo's for kids, bitch. You know what I mean?
What do you like?
So, anyways, number one game of the year for me. Well, I'll go from the bottom up, I guess. More suspenseful that way. So I would say number 5 for me. Hellblade 2, I think, was number 5. Honestly, going into the year, if you had said Hellblade 2 wasn't in my top 3, I probably would have been like, you're crazy. Because I had like the utmost faith in Ninja Theory to create something that rivaled the first game. And there's just better games that came out, or at least games I enjoyed more. I don't know where they go from here with the franchise, honestly. Even though I greatly enjoyed Hellblade 2, I played through it like 2.5 times, almost 3 times. I'm not sure what the franchise has to do anymore, and I'm not even sure putting the game on other platforms. I mean, I think they will for sure, but I don't even think that's going to help. Like, even if you put Hellblade 2 on Switch and PlayStation 5, I don't think it does anything. I don't think it sells. I don't really think people are just interested. I don't think people are interested in the Hellblade universe.
No,
and
it's a fancy tech demo. I'm sorry, but that's all it is.
So I'm very curious to see what Ninja Theory does to follow this game up. I mean, they have Project Mara, which I guess still exists. I'm curious to see what that is, but
I hope they actually make a game next time.
Yeah, I know how you feel about Hellblade, but yeah, I was thinking about that as like, I really enjoyed Hellblade 2 for what it was, but I'm also now thinking of like, where do we go from here? Clearly, the audience didn't resonate with it, so very curious. So that is my number 5. Number 4 would be Astrobot. Now, Astrobot won Keeley's Game of the Year, but when it comes to my personal choice, it's in the top 5. I don't personally wouldn't have chosen it for Game of the Year, but it was a good enough game. I guess a lot of people love the nostalgia and stuff, and it was fun enough to play. I think it went on a little bit too long. I think that was one of my criticisms of the game. Is I sort of felt like it kind of outstayed its welcome more towards the end. But I mean, it is good enough to like make my top 5, and no, I don't think Xbox needs to counter it with a Banjo game or any platforming game really.
You don't
So
want Blink's coming back?
no Blinks. You know, the Banjo Bros, I guess they're still gonna have to keep on waiting for their game.
What about Voodoo Vince?
No Voodoo Vince.
No?
No. I mean, essentially, if you're not Mario, nobody cares about you in the platformer land. I mean, even judging from...
Damn.
I mean, it's true. Even judging from how much Astrobot sold, it's like there's a steep, very steep difference between Mario and Astrobot. So that's number 4. Number 3, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. The more I sit on that game, it's weird because the more I sit back and reminisce about Astrobot and Hellblade 2, the further down like the list they go, and the longer I spend away from Indiana Jones, my appreciation for the game has increased. So I would put that number 3, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Man, the Machine Games like totally knocked it out of the park. Troy Baker was... It's kind of crazy to think about Troy Baker because Troy Baker is doing an impression of a guy doing not an impression but acting as like not himself. So he's like almost doing an impression of an impression, right? Because it's Harrison Ford doing Indiana Jones, and then Troy Baker doing an impression of Indiana Ford doing Indiana Jones. So it's kind of crazy to think how well that worked, where you're actually watching and playing through the game, and at some point you're just like, you don't even think to yourself, this is Troy Baker. It's like, no, that's Indiana fucking Jones. This is a game about Indiana Jones, and that's Indiana Jones himself. It's part of the reason why I think the game is as loved as it is, as reviewed as well as it is, because it really does feel like a true-to-life Indiana Jones movie.
Yep.
You know, and...
Well, I said in my preview, it feels like a total simulator. Like, I really... That point really slammed home to me. The way you can just, like, shove Nazis off the edge of things.
I know, yeah.
You know, there's, like, so many ways to interact with it in a sort of naturalistic... It's almost as if you're the movie director, right? And you're sort of, like, in real time, okay, now shove that Nazi off that balcony or something like that. And then he goes screaming down with the Hollywood sound effects and all that stuff. It's great, man. It's a great game. It's definitely my top 5 as well, even though I haven't quite finished it yet.
Yeah, and I know there's rumors. I don't know if you can speak to any of this stuff, because I did see you tweet about it, about the idea. I think it was like some film insider said something about Indiana Jones sequels around the way.
Yeah, I've been hinted to from good sources that they ain't done with Indiana Jones, and Disney's very, very happy with the way the game's performed. So I would bet that we're going to see more Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, I'm in two minds about that though, because I want more Wolfenstein. You know, I love that they did this, but I also like. Can we have both? Possibly, maybe.
Well, is Machine Games big enough to work on 2 games at a time or 2 games at once? I don't think so. Question. I think they have 170 employees, what have you. And I brought this up before, where even after
they made that with quite a small team.
This is almost kind of the Ninja Theory Hellblade conundrum. What do you do when the game that you made, that you may have plans for a franchise, doesn't exactly light up interest in your fan base, and clearly kind of there's no... So it's like, do you pivot? Do you make Hellblade 3 into more of a, you know, open world-ish kind of an actual hack and slash game instead of what it was? Or do you do something new? And with Machine Games, whose previous work had been Wolfenstein, was the Wolfenstein brand really tarnished from Young Blood? Because Young Blood came out and people hated Young Blood.
Nobody remembers Young Blood. I think it's okay.
I'm true. I mean, you could say the same thing about like Fallout 76. People hated Fallout, but like, you know, like it doesn't really impact anything else down the road. No, but they could look at it like, we don't know what to do, or we don't really think Wolfenstein has a future or has an audience, and Indiana Jones may be the way, right? So I said in my review that when I think about what I want Machine Games to do next, always before it was I want to see Wolfenstein 3 because I want them to complete the trilogy. But after playing Indiana Jones and seeing all the things they did, I'm like, yo, I think I kind of want an Indiana Jones 2, right? So I am, in a way, also conflicted a bit because I do want to see Wolfenstein 3. But I'm not upset at the idea of them doing more Indiana Jones games because I want them to make a game that doesn't put them on the hot seat, I guess I'll say. Because we're at this era where I think nobody's safe, really. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but there's still a lot of layoffs happening in the industry. And who knows how Microsoft feels about certain studios and their bottom line after a certain amount of time. Now, judging from Ninja Theory's tax reporting or whatever, they're still profitable companies. So it's like, well, as long as you're still making money, then it's fine. So you're looking at like, well, wouldn't it suck if you get into January and Microsoft does their typical layoffs, and it's like, oh, well, we're also shutting down Machine Games. You know what I mean? Like people would be furious and upset about all that. So it's like, you want them to create something that resonates with fans and also makes them money so they can continue to exist and make other cool experiences, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I will say that there's always rumors every quarter about layoffs in Microsoft, but there are sort of people discussing the possibility of there being layoffs in, first quarter, like there usually is in January. So there's that anxiety going around as well right now. But I see what you're saying, but I don't feel like doing a new Wolfenstein is necessarily a big risk. I mean, there would be like,
well, there has to be a reason why they put Wolfenstein on the back burner to do Indiana Jones. Clearly, they must have thought the idea of doing Indiana Jones, regardless of the fact that they would have to pay a licensing fee to Disney, was more preferable than doing more Wolfenstein.
I honestly, like, money is a huge factor, but I honestly think like Microsoft gives their devs a lot of creative freedom. I genuinely think this was an issue of, this is a good idea, let's go for it.
Well,
and it's paid off.
To be fair,
to some degree,
in this scenario, Indiana Jones, I think, was part of. They were already making the game when Xbox acquired them, right? But now it's like, okay, they built the game under Microsoft. The game's out. What do you do for a sequel? I'm just saying, when Bethesda was deciding what to do next, they decided they would much rather do a licensed game than actually a game that they own a whole 100% of. So that shouldn't that tell you how they feel about Wolfenstein versus Indiana Jones? That they'd rather do Indiana Jones and then have to pay Disney some of that money instead of just doing Wolfenstein 3 where they would own it all? I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about how they feel about Wolfenstein, yeah?
I mean, Bethesda maybe, but things have changed, man. But as well though, for Microsoft, like, we all know Microsoft doesn't like licensed stuff, at least not in the current regime. I know that to be a fact. But at the same time, people have asked them for something like this. They've asked them for an answer to something like Spider-Man or whatever, which is why we now have Blade and, potentially an Indiana Jones sequel. So, I don't know.
Do you think that also this is more, when they say like more Indiana Jones sequels, do you think we could see more Indiana Jones games from not necessarily Machine Games? Like how the Star Wars license is used by other companies, where you have a Star Wars game from Respawn and EA, and then a Star Wars game from Ubisoft and Massive.
Well, I saw an interesting article recently. Could we see an
Indiana Jones game from a different developer and publisher altogether?
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I saw an interesting article recently. I can't remember what outlet it was. So if someone in the chat knows, let me know so I can give them a shout out. But the premise was like, and it's really bugging me that I can't remember who it was. It might have been Games Radar, I think. They had an interesting editorial, and it was like, Indiana Jones proves that the best way to revive a dead franchise is via video games. Because Indiana Jones is effectively, was a dead franchise until now.
Well,
and
gaming, yeah, sure.
I mean, but like even in movies, I mean, nobody really cared about the new movie. I mean, after the fourth movie, um, it didn't have the fanfare that it would have done. And also, I don't think Harrison Ford's got another Indiana Jones left in him, unfortunately. And it's kind of like, well, who else could play Indiana Jones? And I think there were rumors of a prequel or something flying
Yeah,
around at some
remember it
point,
was
but
supposed to be Shia LaBeouf.
yeah, God,
Remember in Indiana
God.
Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he was going to put on the hat, and Indy grabbed it, and then in the sequel movie, they made sure that Mutt had died in the Vietnam War.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but maybe that's what you do, with Indiana Jones. But I think like Disney, as we've seen with Disney, they have this tendency of like, let's strike the iron while it's hot, and they strike it so hard that it causes it to fracture. And I think that's what they've done with Star Wars. They went so hard with Star Wars after they acquired it that now I feel like everyone's become a bit sick of it. It doesn't help that a lot of the stuff they put out was trash, I suppose. But like even the good stuff, like what's it called now? The Rogue One TV show.
Andor.
Andor. Yeah, even that, I feel like Andor got lost in the shuffle a
$600
bit.
million for 2 seasons of Andor, apparently, is how much it cost.
Is that how much I highly
Supposedly.
doubt. I
That,
highly doubt that made its money
I
back.
saw a Paul Tassi article about it.
Yeah, I highly doubt that made its money back, and I feel like one of the reasons it didn't make its money back because everyone expected it to be trash, probably. But anyways, I suppose we'll wait and see where they take Indiana Jones. But I really don't think just because this one game did fairly okay, you know, I don't think that warrants going balls to the wall on it. I would still rather than make a new Wolfenstein personally, but
Well, I mean,
what do I know,
if they
bro?
are doing another Indiana Jones right away, there's obviously things they can improve upon for the sequel, but that keeps on putting Wolfenstein further in the rearview mirror. I mean, and with how long games take to make nowadays, it's like, will you ever see a Wolfenstein at some point? I don't know. It's almost kind of like,
The video game industry just cooked.
well, it's like, before you could do like, oh, let's do Wolfenstein whatever in a couple years and then do whatever in Indiana Jones, but now it's a little different. It's kind of also like, when I was looking for that GTA 6 trailer today, I came across the news that the Batman 2 was delayed a year. It's like, oh my
Oh, really?
God, really? Another year? Yeah, so now Batman 2, which was originally supposed to come out in October of 2025, then it got delayed to October of 2026, is now coming out October of 2027. It's like,
Yikers.
what the hell? What is taking so long for that movie? I don't know. But anyways, back to the top 5. 3 was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. 2 would be Silent Hill 2. Oh man, I love that game. Like nostalgia flashbacks to when I was playing it as a younger man, and how Bloober Team they completely impressed me and basically shut me up because I was like, Bloober Team, they can't make anything good because they haven't yet. And then they put out just a pure banger of Silent Hill. And now there's rumors that they're doing a Silent Hill 3 remake and a Silent Hill 1 remake, supposedly,
I hope they
maybe?
do. I really hope that's true, but do them in order, at least.
I mean, you would have to do Silent Hill 1
Well,
first before you do
I
a
guess
Silent
it's
Hill
impossible.
3.
Yeah, it's impossible to do them in order because they started with 2. So what am I talking
Well, no,
about?
because two's still separate. Like 1 and 3 are tied together, but 2 is kind of its separate thing, right?
Oh yeah, I suppose. But then do 1 first before 3. Surely.
Yeah, you would have to. Either way, I'm not against the idea of Bloober Team doing more Silent Hill because I loved Silent Hill 2 so much. And that would bring me to my number 1, my game of the year. I don't care what Paris says. The game of the year was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Huh.
Totally overlooked by supposed game critics and game reviewers and the Game Awards. Best game of the year came out in January of 2024. I feel like, just didn't get the recognition it deserved for being as good as it was. And I know Special Nick agrees with me, and he's not here right now, but Yeah, that's my game of the year. Like, I absolutely adored that game. I even went back and played the DLC, which was pretty damn good. And it's like, oh yeah, like it really sunk into my head. Like, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown is my game of the year for sure. It did get an award, Dark Fox. It got, I think, innovation or accessibility. One of those. It was like innovations in accessibility. But I mean, that's really not like a gaming award. It's just like, hey, you did some cool things to help
Recognition.
people play your game, but it didn't really get anything else. So, anyways,
Yeah.
what was yours,
Some
Jez?
people. What was mine? Mine's interesting because this past year is the first year that I was sort of in the management layer at Windows Central. So I got promoted to managing editor in December of 2023, which has left me with a lot. Because before, what I do was I play games for work, reviewing games, previewing games. I still do previews and stuff, but like I used to review a lot of games as part of my old role as just a writer, basically, or senior editor, which is basically a fancy title for a writer with a bit of seniority. But this past year, I've been a manager and now I'm executive editor, and this year, so I should have more time to actually play games this year because I'm not actually managing anymore again. So this year I haven't actually played a lot of new games, but so I'm going to put them in no particular order because some of these games are not particularly new. One game that I played this year that was new, and I played it to completion because I did review it, was Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, I suppose I have to put this in here incidentally, even though it's not perfect. The game has a lot of flaws, and a lot of those flaws didn't even get really fixed in patches either. So even though like I was really into it, it kind of ended a little abruptly, and I felt like didn't live up to its potential. But I still really loved it. I put like a good 100+ hours into that game. So Dragon's Dogma 2 is probably in there somewhere. Also, what else I played this year? Sorry, go on.
What was the game you just mentioned?
Dragon's Dogma 2.
Were you surprised that Dragon's Dogma 2 didn't get any love at the Game Awards either? Because it seemed like when it came out that people were super, super high on Dragon's Dogma being one of the best of the year, and then towards the end, it's like it didn't even exist. Nobody talked about it anymore.
It's really weird. It like the game. I think because the original had like a long tail because it had a lot of post game content, but this one had like at least went with the DLC at least. But this one like had no post game content whatsoever. So it kind of plays like a game that almost feels like it should be designed for ongoing gameplay, but it didn't really have any. So it's a bit of a weird one, Dragon's Dogma 2, because it had all these elements like these asynchronous social elements which are really fun. You can use other people's pawns and for your party and stuff like that, and the combat was pretty good. And like the story twists in the game are very impressive, I think. But it does kind of end. It almost feels a bit like anachronistic in a way. But yeah, that is, even though it wasn't perfect. That's still one of my top 5 of the past year. Another game for me, I suppose, of the past year, I'm gonna have to say Indiana Jones. Even though I haven't finished it, I think I'm about 75% through at this point. Indiana Jones is definitely up there. I mean, it's just a fantastic game, and it doesn't feel like this is a game that it feels old school in the right way. Do you know what I mean? Because it has a sort of old school sensibility to it, but it also has like a lot of innovative kind of gameplay. And this is a game that I would never have expected to have put in my top 5 for the end of the year. Because I tend to not, as you know, I tend to not like the games that are more story heavy. But I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones, so that helps a lot.
And I tend to.
Yeah, and you tend to, yeah. But I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones. I've always been since I was a little kid. So that helps on the story front. But also the game is, for a game that is story heavy, it's so interactive. And it's so creative with the interactivity. And I think a lot of games that do want to be more narrative led, they need to look to Indiana Jones as an example of how to make a story heavy adventure action game, they called it. Adventure first, action second. How to make those kind of games feel a little bit more interactive and fun, because if you are just literally walking around, I think you should have just probably made a movie instead. So the fact that they made it super interactive is the innovation that I wanted to see from this genre. So yeah, that's probably like, even though I haven't finished it yet, it's probably the top marks for me, I think. And Rand, I'm gonna have to say World of Warcraft. For the War Within expansion this year.
We knew
I kind
that
of feel
was
like,
happening.
yeah, that was happening.
Yeah.
Because that expansion, it's not a regular expansion. It almost feels like the game's renewed. You can feel that they've put more budget into this expansion than maybe the last 5 expansions. Story delivery was so much better. Actual cutscenes with voice acting and shit. In-engine cutscenes with in-engine motion capture, which, something they only started doing a couple of expansions ago. So that has to be in there for me. I honestly do. I'm not just saying this because I'm a WoW fan, but I really think that game got snubbed at the Game Awards. World of Warcraft took it up a notch this year and kind of got ignored, which I think sucks. So that's my service game pick. What else?
Path of Exile 2. There you go.
Nah, I don't think so. I'm struggling to get into that game, to be honest. I've tried to get into Path of Exile because everyone says it's so much better than Diablo, but it just makes me want to play Diablo, man. I don't know what it is about it. I don't really enjoy the story or the lore, even though like the combat. I don't think the combat's as good either. The way they interact with the enemies. The best thing about Path of Exile is the boss fights. The boss fights are so good. They are so good, man, in that game. So that's my biggest takeaway for Path of Exile 2 is just the boss battles, just fantastic. I will say as well, probably for 2024. What else did I play this year? Space Marine 2. Again,
Space Marine 2. That's in my top 10. Like Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Space Marine 2. Those games are just outside the top 5 for me.
Yeah, Space Marine 2 is just fantastic, but I think the game of year for me, even though it's again an expansion, Shadow of the Earth Tree, man.
Elden Ring.
It's just easily. I mean, Shadow of the Earth Tree was so good that it forced the Game Awards to rethink its Game Awards system. Like maybe we should allow DLC because it was just that good and it was just that vast and that much of an extension of the original game in every respect. A huge extra world, new mechanics, new bosses, tons of new story, like good new story as well. That not only like added new lore but like expanded on the existing lore. And I played the hell out of it this year, more so than any other game. So that has to be my number 1 pick, even though, it's not a full original game. And then there was a lot of games that I played this year that didn't come out this year. A lot of indie games like Tales of Iron, finished that off. I played a fair bit of Frostpunk 2, but I'm sort of waiting for patches to improve it. Stalker 2 as well. Played a lot of that, but I'm waiting for more patches, I think. Or at least I have been. I'm sort of trying to... I think the game's sort of polished now, I think. But I'm trying to like finish Persona before I let myself get sucked into that. I played a ton of Black Ops 6 this year as well. So as far as multiplayer shooters go, like Black Ops 6 is the first Call of Duty that sort of pulled me back in for years and years and years. Even though there's all this drama about Black Ops 6 right now popping off. I don't know if you've seen this round, but a lot of people throwing in the towel saying that quit because of all the cheating and all that kind of thing.
Well, I saw Apex Legends is having some problems. Apparently, player count numbers are really, really down on Apex right now.
Destiny as well. Player numbers down in Destiny as well.
People were complaining about their holiday stuff where they just they didn't have anything new. It was just older stuff again. So, I guess if you're not Fortnite and you're not Call of Duty, it's tough to run these games as a service games and have new content consistently to keep your user base happy from one year to the next. And it's even if I was sitting there, I was like, well, if Apex Legends die, I mean, it had a good run. That's 5 years going into its 6th year next year. I mean, games can't last forever. But then it's like, oh, and
Sure
maybe
can't.
if Apex Legends died, maybe we'd actually get Titanfall 3 from Respawn, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really wondering what EA is going to do because, I mean, I suppose EA is in a privileged position because they've got the whole the infinite money glitch with FIFA Ultimate Team, right? Or whatever they call it now, EA Sports FC. I can't remember what they call it because, frankly, I don't care. But they've got the infinite money glitch with that game, so they can sort of coast on that. They don't need to rely on Apex Legends in the same way that, I don't know. Can you imagine if Fortnite died? I mean, well, I suppose Epic's got the Unreal Engine to fall back on, but it would put a huge dent in their gaming chops if Fortnite died. Because it's like, what else do they do? Like, you know,
Well,
suppose
if
they own
Fortnite
Rocket League.
died, Xbox and PlayStation's revenue would decrease dramatically.
Something to replace it. You know, Grand Theft Auto 2 Online would probably replace it. I think.
That's kind of the thing we've been waiting for is the next multiplayer wave, right? Where it was battle royales in 2017 and 2018, and it essentially stayed battle royales. Kind of. I mean, like Fortnite's more than just a battle royale, but it stayed sort of that same offering since then. And there's been like nothing new, I guess, to really take over. Some people thought it was going to be extraction shooters, like you know, Tarkov or Dr. Disrespect's game or whatever. Like people thought that was going to be the next genre, and it probably it doesn't look like that's going to be it. So
no,
what is it? What is the next big multiplayer sort of thing that people go for? I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people are talking about Marvel's Rivals.
Well, yeah, but even still, that's just...
I tried that
Isn't
game,
that just Overwatch repackaged as Marvel characters?
It's
Kind of. Isn't it like the same thing, though?
In theory.
Yeah, well, maybe that'll come back, because
I got a hot take, man.
Those hero shooters, they predated Battle Royale, so maybe we're about to see the resurgence of hero shooters again.
Yeah, but Overwatch is back, baby.
No, Overwatch
coming
is
back.
dying.
Nah, I tell you something, Rand. I got a hot take for you, bro.
Okay.
Overwatch is better than Marvel's Rivals.
Okay.
In fact, Marvel's Rivals is trash compared to Overwatch.
Yeah, well, don't look at those player numbers for Overwatch.
Well, you can't. They're all hidden by Battle.net. But
I do want to get a couple super chats here, Jez. You ready?
Yeah.
We got Edwin J. Garcia with the 5. Did you give your number one game? Was it?
Yeah, Elden Ring, bro.
Elden Ring. Okay.
Elden Ring.
Yeah, I figured it would be. He says, "Are you guys going to make predictions for 2025 for an Xbox episode?" I mean, hell, we might as well just do it right now, right?
Yeah.
It's last episode of the year. So, do you have any Xbox predictions, Jez? For 2025? For the calendar year. Will we get another business update podcast with a lot of weird things said that don't really make a lot of sense and they're negated months later?
I hope not.
You know?
I mean, the obvious one is Developer Direct, so that's not really a prediction because they've done it. Yeah. They've done it 2 years in a row.
Well, it would be a prediction to see what will be at the Developer Direct, though. That's a prediction.
Yeah. I'm going to predict...
What do you got in there?
I'm going to predict Doom.
All right, we got Doom.
Fable.
Just 2 games?
And Oblivion.
Oblivion Remaster?
Yeah.
Just 3 games? Usually do 4. South of Midnight?
Yeah, you could do Avowed.
South of Midnight?
Okay, how about this, right? We do South of Midnight, Avowed, Doom, and Fable.
Okay.
And then one more thing is Oblivion Remaster.
I'll go South of Midnight.
That's just pure guesswork, by the way. That's not a leak. That's pure guesswork.
I'll do South of Midnight. I'll do Doom. I'll do Oblivion Remaster. And I'll do Outer Worlds 2. And I'll say Fable is at the... Oh, we'll go on another thing. All right, so that's what we think might be at Developer Direct. Obviously, subject to change closer to the show. This isn't the final thing, but still. All right, so do you think we'll see at the showcase... After the showcase, will there be another Direct like the last 2 years? Like last year's was Call of Duty Black Ops 6, year before Starfield. Because I think after this year's Xbox Showcase, they're going to have the Fable Direct.
Where
they give a deep
Not
dive
another
about
Call of
Fable.
Duty Direct?
No, because I think they're going to go back to how Call of Duty is typically marketed. Maybe we'll get like the trailer at the show, but then I don't think... Because then at that point, you're just going to be like, what is Call of Duty Direct going to be at the end of every Xbox Showcase? I think that'd be pretty lame if that was the case. So I'm going to say no, just simply because I don't want that to be the case. You know?
Mm.
So I feel like Fable deserves that chance to maybe do a 20-minute breakdown. And, you know, Call of Duty can do their own thing on their own time, essentially.
Well, fair enough. But I think I'm going to predict otherwise. And again, this is just a prediction. It's not a leak. I really have to clarify that shit. Just an idea. Instead of doing Fable after the showcase, they do State of Decay 3. And that State of Decay 3 is actually like early 2026.
Okay. I mean, I know how much you love State of Decay 3.
Sure do. Sure do, bro.
Okay. I will predict that Xbox is going to be part of Nintendo's reveal of the Switch 2. As in, one of their games will be showing up at... See, I don't know how the Nintendo's going to do this. They could easily just do, like, here's a reveal of the system, and then, like, the first-party games come into it or whatever, and then have another show where they talk about the third-party stuff. So, I don't know where this would fall in, but I think that's where Xbox shows up and you have a trailer for Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Master Chief Collection.
See, I'm not sure about Forza Horizon 5 just because of the license.
It's just predictions.
Expiring.
It's just predictions, bro. They don't.
Yeah, but that's why I wouldn't predict
leaks.
Forza Horizon 5.
I'm just saying they're going to show up. It's gonna, that's my prediction.
I think Master Chief Collection is definitely happening for Switch, in my opinion, not a leak, or just in my opinion. And but will it also come to PlayStation?
Yes. If it's going to Switch, it's going to PlayStation.
It would be funny if it didn't.
I mean, yeah, it would be, but any other predictions you got?
Any
other? What about Game Pass coming to Steam?
I don't think that's happening.
Is that no? Okay, okay, fair enough.
No, I don't think that's happening.
I
think maybe we get a business update next year.
You think we're gonna get another business update?
Yeah, but it'll be more positive, and I think they'll drop the next gen code names, and they'll talk about OEM hardware, but also show a silhouette or something of the next gen Xbox, and give us a code name like the Scorpio thing.
Okay. Do you think that happens at a business direct or at the showcase?
I think that happens at Business Direct, and they'll focus the showcase on the games.
Okay. So do you think you think we see the handheld, or we see one of the consoles then?
Yeah, I think they show like a silhouette or something, but also talk about how they're partnering with Dell, Lenovo, Asus to make their own Xbox consoles for global markets.
Interesting. Okay.
And also, do a wildcard prediction, man. Something crazy, bro.
Okay, wildcard prediction. I don't know if this is like something crazy or a wild card, but I'll predict that all the games that Microsoft says are 2025 will actually all release in 2025, and Microsoft will not have any delays. How's that?
That's a crazy prediction, bro.
I know, right? Because they could have so many delays, but they're not going to.
Yeah.
Everything's going to hit when it's supposed to hit this year. And there's going to be no delays to 2026 for any of the games announced for 2025.
Mm.
I'm going on a limb on that one. Because Grand Theft Auto 6 could change the trajectory of everything if that game does drop next year. Because games are going to go scurrying.
All right, here's my wildcard prediction, bro.
Okay.
Nintendo puts Metroid on PC, bro, on Steam.
Come on, you gotta say something that at least has a likelihood of happening.
That's real, bro.
No, there's 0% chance.
Look,
of Metroid.
Look, Rand. My algorithm's been feeding me a lot of sort of meditative content. I'm manifesting. Manifesting, Rand. I'm manifesting Metroid on PC, so I don't have to get a Switch or Sail the Seven Seas. I'm manifesting, okay? Have you never heard of manifesting, Rand? Chat.
Yes.
Chat, have you heard of manifesting? Where you just believe something's gonna happen and it happens. I'm manifesting Metroid on PC. Thanks.
All right. If that's how you feel, sure.
Sure is how I feel.
Do you think Contraband makes an appearance this year?
I've heard Contraband has had a nightmarish development cycle. I think I've talked about this before, and was in danger of being cancelled at one point. But they've worked really hard to sort of turn the game around, and it's actually started hitting milestones now. So it could break cover next year. But I think some aspects of that game have been reworked, rejigged to make it more fun, I guess. I think it was vehicular heavy before,
yes.
And maybe now it's not as much.
I wonder if you get out of the car with your guns now in this game.
Yeah, but it's also kind of like, if you are doing that, you're kind of going up head to head against
GTA.
Grand Theft Auto Online in a way.
Yeah, you sure are.
I think it's going to be hard for that game to find its audience.
What about this one? Considering Rare put it in their holiday card, the first image we've seen of Everwild since 2020?
Has it been that long?
Yeah, I mean, we got the original trailer in 2019, and then we got a second trailer the year after at 2020. We haven't seen nor heard hide nor hair from the game in 4+ years. But in their Christmas card, they had a new image of Everwild. So they're teasing it, and you would think 2025's got to be the year of maybe not only it showing up again, but maybe even releasing.
I don't think it'll release.
Are you going to predict an Everwild release in 2025, Jez?
I'm going to predict the Everwild release for 2026, but a reveal for 2020.
Yeah, so it's going to show up at the showcase. You think? What if
it's at the showcase.
What if it's the one more thing at the Dev Direct? Nobody expects, because remember last year nobody expected Indiana Jones to release in 2024, and it did. So what if instead of it being, because honestly, if I'm being truly honest, I think a one more thing of an Oblivion remaster is kind of lame.
But what if it's like really good though? Because I'm expecting the Oblivion remaster to be graphical, mostly nature. But what if it's like a full overhaul, like systems-wise?
No, they're not completely remaking that game. I think people are kind of playing fast and loose with this idea of it being a remake or what is a remaster. It's probably, if I had to guess, something in the vein of a Halo Combat Evolved, where like all they did was just put a graphical overlay on top of something so it looked better, but underneath it played exactly the same. I can't imagine them going through that game and completely remaking everything from the bottom up. So to me, the Oblivion remaster is just going to be a graphical in nature, and that's it. And
what if it's got revamped combat though? Because I that combat, bro, does not hold up in 2024,
I mean,
2025.
maybe they could do some revamp combat, but I'm just not I'm not expecting much. So like when I think of like, oh, surprises, like Indiana Jones, a big surprise for last year's Dev Direct, and they also even did a third party thing because they showed off Visions of Mana, I believe, as well. So you can always point to that, but I don't know. I feel like I sort of feel like Indiana, like Oblivion Remaster is kind of just a. I hate to say it, but just kind of an email. Like, hey, we're announcing the Oblivion Remaster. Here's the trailer. Enjoy. You know what I mean?
But well, that's why I'm saying like it could be a one more thing if it is more than just a graphical refresh. They revamp the combat, like make it even better than Skyrim, give it like some of the more modern trappings. It could be more than just a bitch basic remaster.
That's what I'm saying. Like something like Everwild. It's like, hey, Everwild's at the Dev Direct. Oh man, here's what because if you're talking about a game that needs a Dev Direct, Everwild's the game, right? Because even when we saw those two trailers, you didn't know goddamn thing about what that game was. Was it some 4-player co-op, whatever? Now there's rumors that it's basically a Viva Pinata creature collector Pokemon-ish game or something. I think that's rumors point to. Now, who knows if that's really true? You want to talk about a game that will surprise people and really actually need an in-depth look? Like you end with Everwild, and it's like coming 2025. I mean, I'm more of in line with you, where I think Everwild, we see it to showcase, and then it releases sometime in 2026.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about something that could just show up and be there and actually release next year, I mean, it could be Everwild. There's a lot. It's been enough time, yeah, considering the last time we saw it and stuff. But
we'll see.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Some big things.
Acquisitions.
I mean, yeah, there's the acquisitions, but no, I'm gonna say Xbox doesn't acquire anything next year.
I think here's one that'll make you groan.
Oh, okay.
I think next year we see the first shades of how Xbox is going to implement generative AI into games development and maybe the operating system itself.
You mean it like like a GDC talk or something?
Yeah, GDC talking about AI, how that's going to work, because it's coming. Sure. You know it's coming, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people.
And here's another prediction.
Okay.
I predict that we still won't get shaders in Minecraft on Xbox.
No.
And the graphics will still be trash.
Minecraft graphics trash?
Yeah, because Minecraft on Xbox like never got the super duper graphics update.
No.
So it never got like the cool water effects or the cool lighting, shit like that. And Zedox in the chat, yeah, that was for you, Zedox. Get on it.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing, Zedox? Get on it.
Come on.
Get on it, bro.
All right.
Didact Bro says, will the Minecraft movie flop?
Ooh. I mean, if you're talking to, it shouldn't flop considering how big Minecraft is. But those trailers have not been good.
No?
I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, but again,
I thought the second trailer was alright.
It's not for me, so
it's not for you. It's for the kid. It's for the kids.
It's for the kids, right? Yeah.
What's that from? Is that from South Park? Yeah. There's another video game movie coming out next year, isn't there? I can't remember what it is off the top of my head though.
I don't know. Did you see that Sonic 3 did well enough where they're doing another Sonic movie, Sonic 4?
It's crazy. It's crazy they're doing Sonic 4. What? It's the crazy timeline we live in where there's 3 decent Sonic movies and now they're doing a 4th.
Yep.
That's wild to me, man.
And
I've only heard good things about Sonic 3.
They're doing a Zelda game, right? The same people that did
Zelda movie.
Yeah, but it's going to be like a live action Zelda.
Oh,
not CGI like Mario was. Yeah.
Do you think they'll eventually do a Smash Brothers movie that's like the Avengers and shit?
Maybe. I don't know. Let's take a look at more of these super chats. We have Ultraman with the 5. Hello. Hope you both had a happy holiday. Thank you. And we did. Donataku with the 5 says, my most anticipated games are the first party launch games from the Switch 2, obviously GTA 6, Expedition 33, Split Fiction, Avowed, Overwatch 2, or Outer Worlds 2, and Doom. And he also dropped another one with 5 and says, Rand, I hope you know that when the Switch 2 is revealed, I will be insufferable. I mean, you kind of already are, Don, with all the Nintendo talk. Hey,
man.
Don, how did you like my joke from the Game Awards, where how everybody was talking about how this was the best Game Awards ever, and we didn't have a damn thing from Nintendo? And I said, it's almost like the game industry doesn't need Nintendo.
Damn.
I don't think you were
Rand
around
went
for
there.
that, but yeah.
He went there, man.
We got
He went
Silas,
there,
member 14 months. So, fellas, since your families don't listen to this podcast, honestly, in the Randall, Thor, and Corden families, are you the favorite child? I'm definitely not the favorite child. I'm the oldest.
No, I'm not. Yeah,
I'm not the baby.
I'm the oldest too.
So
I'm the
no.
oldest too. I'm definitely not the favorite child. No.
Yeah.
I thought you had an older brother.
No, I am the eldest. I have a younger brother and two
okay.
younger sisters.
Yeah.
Fantasticals.
I'm the oldest too. Definitely not favorite.
Member for 50 months says Rockstar is waiting for Guerrilla Games to announce their next remaster so they can launch GTA right next to it. Now, wouldn't that be funny? Poor Guerrilla. Donataka with another 5. Rand literally hits my DMs every day to tell me how Nintendo is for kids and how much he hates Pokemon. True story. True story. Indeed.
Oh no, that was me. I hate Pokemon. I hate Pokemon, man. I hate it now. I went from loving it to hating it. I'm a hater now, bro.
And he drops another 2 super chat. Me and Rand have the same game of the year. The world is ending. Hey, we just, we know quality. When outside of Nintendo, your opinions are pretty good, Don. But when it comes with the Nintendo, you're just on something else with that.
Damn.
Rand
being harsh.
Yeah, what else kind of went on this week? In news that made Rand mad.
Oh.
Or upset. Apparently, EA turned down Dead Space 4.
Yeah, I mean,
Glenn Schofield went to EA and pitched Dead Space 4, and EA's like, thanks, but no thanks. Or at least not right now. And it's like, oh my God, I hate you, EA! You get your hopes up with the Dead Space remake that was incredible, and then apparently didn't sell to what they want, so now plans are on ice for that. And then the original creator comes back and is like, hey, because his game didn't do well, Callisto Protocol, it's like, we'll make a Dead Space 4. And then EA's like, yeah, no thanks. And it's just like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, but my thing about this, right, is exactly what you said. He made Callisto Protocol.
Yeah, that is
like
true.
if I'm EA, and the most recent game on your resume is Callisto Protocol, there was so much fucking hype for that game. I'm sorry, there was every reason to think that game was going to do well. Like all the trailers they showed, and the way it looked, and the atmosphere, the lighting, all the tech they were talking about and showing off. And then the game came out, and it was not really like what was advertised. I feel. I don't think any of the sort of trailers really talked about the fact that it had the weirdest melee combat I've ever experienced in the game, and I think it was so weird they had to change a bunch of it. Atmosphere was on point, the setting was pretty cool, all that kind of stuff, and it's just like this awful combat system that is just wasn't fun in any context, in my view. So if I'm EA and I'm looking at the resume of Glenn, the recent resume, I'm thinking maybe we don't partner with this guy personally. No? And then I doubly think it when he goes on social media and puts EA on blast over it. Because now that's going to cause them a headache. Not the most professional way to behave, in my view. Kind of reminds me of, fuck around and find out kind of thing. Also, he's flamed them in interviews as well. So, would you want to work with him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like if a perfect pitch came around for Dead Space 4, for example, If Hideo Kojima pitched Dead Space 4, would they say no to him? If it was a great pitch? I personally think no. I think they would let Hideo Kojima make a Dead Space 4.
Would they give Hideo Kojima a blank check, though?
I don't think EA is in the business of blank checks anymore. Personally. But I don't know. EA is just kind of one of them studios that, as we've talked about in the past, they are the kings of disappointment. Or well, they battle Ubisoft for being the kings of disappointment.
Well, speaking of Ubisoft, what do you predict is up for Ubisoft in 2025?
What do you mean?
Do you see anything happening with Ubisoft in 2025?
Oh, well,
sold off.
They're taking the company private with Tencent, aren't they?
I mean, that's the current rumor.
Yeah. I think they'll take the company private. Tencent will lay off like 50% of the staff. They'll kill all the sort of smaller franchises. Like, I don't think you see Prince of Persia again. I don't think you see Trials again. I think games that are sort of having hard development, like Beyond Good and Evil, they get cancelled outright. I think you see games like Prince of Persia Remake. I think you see that get cancelled probably.
Again?
Yeah, again. And then you see Ubisoft devolve into a sort of Assassin's Creed machine.
What if Assassin's Creed Shadows underperforms?
Well, it probably will underperform. I think everything's underperforming right now. But I think that Assassin's Creed is still their best asset. So I think they become an Assassin's Creed machine while also trying to make the Division more of a household name when it comes to service games. So I think they become a Division / Assassin's Creed studio moving forward. That's my prediction for Ubisoft's future.
Pretty.
Oh, and Rainbow Six Siege. I think even For Honor probably gets canned off.
Finally, I mean, it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. It's still getting support all these years later.
Yeah, I think they'll basically be like their service games that do well. Like, what's it called? Brawl Stars, I think it's called on mobile. Brawlhalla, yeah. What's Brawl Stars?
I have no idea.
I don't know, something else completely. I think they keep Far Cry. I think they keep Brawlhalla. I think they keep Rainbow Six. But everything else beyond Assassin's Creed and Division probably gets binned off, I would say. That's my prediction for Ubisoft's future. I think a lot of studios you're probably going to see downsizing, like EA as well. Like EA, I don't think there's a universe where EA greenlights Dead Space in the current climate or anything experimental for that matter. Well, not experimental. Anything that isn't a surefire win. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. But the shareholders are in the driving seat now, and they want blood. They want blood, baby.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I don't like it either, because I think the shareholders are dictating what's going on at Xbox as well. For the first time ever.
Now, I do want to bring up that you wrote an article today, specifically about a new patent that apparently
I did. I'm supposed to be off.
So tell us about this controller patent, Jez. What's going on?
I mean, it's not anything particularly interesting, but the patent itself, because it is just basically confirming what leaked in those documents in 2023, I want to say. So in 2023, during the Activision Blizzard trial, Microsoft's lawyers uploaded a shitload of documents to an unsecured server within the court system, if I remember correctly. It was something like that. It was some accident which led to all those documents being essentially listed publicly, right? So as a result of that, we found out about the mid-gen console refreshes, Elwood and Brooklyn, both of which were apparently cancelled. There was also the controller, Sebille, which was part of those leaks, which everyone, again, wondered, okay, well, if the consoles are cancelled, is this cancelled as well? But I've heard fairly recently, actually, that the controller isn't cancelled. And then, but I didn't really report that. And if you remember, if people who listen to the podcast frequently, you might remember me talking about earlier this month, I heard some vague rumors that there might be a controller reveal this month. Well, it seems that those weird rumors might have actually been this patent, which was filed this month for the Sebille controller, specifically its haptics functions. Now, it doesn't say in the patent that it's Sebille, but if you look at the drawings, it's unmistakably Sebille because it's got the weird skirt around it. Because if you look at the leaked pictures of Sebille, it has like these trousers.
Yeah.
It looks grippy trousers, and everyone was wondering like, what's that for? It seems like that those are specifically to do with delivering impulse shocks from the haptics and the motors, which can apparently move around independently of the controller's housing or something, to really create this sort of tactile feel of vibration motors moving around independent of the controller itself. The patent's all in patentese language, so it's a little bit hard to understand, but it does seem to lend credence to the fact that even though Brooklyn and Elwood were cancelled, the mid-gen refresh consoles were cancelled, it does seem like Sebille's still on the way. And from what I'm hearing, this is going to be the controller that ships with the next-gen systems. But I have to ask, like, how expensive is this thing going to be? Because it has a lot of functions and features that go way beyond the current controller. Like the improved resolution on the haptics, for example, they're probably going to be more expensive. It's got direct to Wi-Fi connectivity like the Stadia controllers to reduce latency on cloud gaming, shave a few milliseconds off the cloud gaming, which might not seem like much, but it does make a big difference over Bluetooth when the controller sends a signal straight to the cloud rather than having to borrow through another device via Bluetooth. It does make a difference, right? So that's one of the reasons Stadia had this perception of having better latency, was part of the Wi-Fi controller they sort of pioneered. So there's that aspect to it. There's also like a load of weird functions like lift to wake, like it'll turn on just if you pick it up. So it's got like some kind of, it's got detection in there. It's got an accelerometer in order to detect that. And also, the latest version of Bluetooth and a bunch of other stuff that I can't remember off the top of my head. So in my mind, this is probably going to be more expensive than a typical Xbox controller. So I'm probably thinking that they keep selling the standard controller because one thing this controller also has, and it does say this in the patent, that the vibrations can be set into backwards compatibility mode, and sort of it'll feel just like a regular Xbox Rumble if you are like playing an older game that doesn't use the new haptics. But also, Rand, these haptic motors can actually be used as speakers and generate noise, apparently. So like, fuck knows how that works, I suppose at the end of the day, sound is just, vibrate in the air. So there's a ton of technology in this thing. So I imagine this is sort of like going to be. I almost wonder, like, is this going to be standard with next gen, or is this kind of going to be like somewhere between the standard controller and an elite controller almost, where it's like maybe $100, and it's like the premium version of a standard Xbox controller, and then the Elite controller Series 3 is the super premium version of the controller, because this also has like proprietary batteries that can be swapped out according to the original documents. So I don't know, but yeah, it does seem like it's coming, and it seems like it'll be there for next gen, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, because remember when this gen started, there was a lot of back and forth about how Xbox, because it had the same dashboard and because they allowed you to use your older controllers on there, so there wasn't any like great improvements on the controller. The whole talking
robbed
point
us of the next gen
robbed
thrill.
us of the next gen thrill, where like PlayStation had a UI and then PlayStation had a controller with haptics and impulse triggers and stuff. And as someone who doesn't like impulse triggers but actually enjoys the haptics, I was like, hey, well, like if you should probably take those features. And Phil had talked about those in interviews about like the haptics and stuff like that. And when those leaked documents came out, it was kind of like, oh, okay, we're gonna be all right, cool. Like we're gonna get this controller with these haptics in there, and they could sort of do some cool stuff with that. And then we're like, because in my mind, when we were talking about, well, what do you do for an Elite Series 3 outside of like, hey guys, this time we actually got the build quality right.
Oh yeah, it also mentioned the build quality would be better in the
yeah, but you can't really
so
like you can't
really go
Elite Series 3, we swear it won't break on you as the tagline,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna have some
This is
some
they are internal documents, so
yeah, you're gonna have to have
it's
some
like internally they admit there's issues with the controllers having a self-imploding feature that I don't think they want to have in there, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah, and I always said one of the things that you could potentially do is like have the controller with haptics and all these other things you could potentially do, like controller with haptics and impulse triggers and 70 other little
Yeah.
fixes and stuff that you could then be like, oh, well, this is why you would sell the controller for $200, right?
Yeah.
But you would need those things to be able to get it because people have been asking, how long has it been since the Elite Series 2 controllers came out? It's been a
Oh
while, right?
man, it's been a hot minute, yeah. Long
And we
time.
know how much Microsoft loves selling people controllers. And because people love buying them controllers, so it's kind of just been a matter of time before they eventually come out with an another elite. But I feel like that timeline is they're like waiting for these new controllers, and like you said, it sounds like this new controller is tied to the next generation consoles. So
It's honestly weird how like they went from having this really rapid cadence of hardware releases to basically doing next to nothing. But like, oh, here's the One S revision, and here's the One X. Oh wow, that's really cool, you know. And it was like it was a significant upgrade. The One X, you know, it's still, at least in terms of GPU, holds up even now, compared to the consoles. And then you've got like controller revisions during Xbox One gen and all this stuff, and they're like, oh, here's some headphones and stuff like that. But this gen, they've done fuck all. They've like released a headset revision which looks exactly the same. They haven't done a mid-gen console refresh. They haven't really revised the controllers, generally speaking. It feels a lot like they've maybe been spending a lot of time this gen reorganizing how they do hardware, which has had a knock-on effect of reducing the output of new hardware. Because when you see those numbers in the Xbox financials, and they talk about like, oh, hardware was down 40%, whatever, whatever, a lot of that is controllers and accessories and things like that. And they haven't really been putting out controllers and accessories at anywhere near the same pace. I know they've got a lot of new colors, but how many people are buying every single color of a new controller? Not that many people. People would upgrade their Series Elite though if they could, but there isn't the option to do so, you know, because they've been really slow at putting out new stuff. So yeah, I don't know why all that's happening, but hopefully it's just a case of like reorganizing, and when they come to next gen and they've got, you know, OEMs on board, we'll see those hardware figures pump up, because you have to assume that if they are going to start doing OEM built Xbox consoles, part of that will be licensing the operating system. Now, will they charge OEMs a lot of money to license the operating system? Because for Windows, for full-blown Windows, OEMs have to pay Microsoft a licensing fee, because there's no subsidy for Microsoft on Windows beyond that licensing fee. You know, it's not like Microsoft makes any money on Windows except for that licensing fee, pretty much. I mean, Satya Nadella was out here recently talking about how Google makes more money on Windows than Microsoft itself does because of everyone downloading Chrome and using Google search, right? Um, so all Microsoft sees is the license fee to Lenovo and Dell for the device, and then they never see any more money really. And that's why like they do annoying things, like they try and upsell OneDrive or Game Pass or whatever in the shell, and it annoys the hell out of everyone. But at the same time, it's like they're not making any money otherwise, right? So they have to charge OEMs a fee for that shit. But when it comes to like an Xbox operating system, which is subsidized, you have to wonder like, will those devices be cheaper than equivalent gaming PC, which does have to factor in that license fee? Interesting to think about.
yeah, interesting. Now, speaking of the OEM stuff, there's been a lot of rumors
Sure
surrounding,
has.
Jason Ronald's presence at CES coming up here in coming weeks. Like him being the vice president of Next Gen, and there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of people out there being, Xbox going to show off their handheld at CES. Xbox is going to, third parties are going to show off, third party Xbox consoles and stuff like that. So I figured, we talk about it here, because I don't think any of that's, I don't, my expectation is there's going to be zero Xbox hardware at CES. Like from handheld to whatever third party OEMs, like be none of that.
Rand,
what?
That's an Xbox now, bro.
Sure. I mean, I guess why not? Everything's an Xbox or whatever. And I think, but I'm just saying, like, I know there's a lot of people that expect Microsoft to reveal their handheld or whatever, or for, Dell or whoever to reveal this, like, Xbox console that they're making. I just don't think we'll see. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think, Lenovo is going to reveal probably their next handheld devices. And sure, if you want to go by the terminology that Xbox uses, those devices will be Xboxes because you can play Xbox games on them. But, like, they won't be, like, Xbox branded. And there isn't going to be, like, oh, here's, like, Dell's not going to be like, here's a $600 Xbox branded console. I don't know. What do you expect from Xbox at CES? Do you expect nothing like I expect?
No.
Or do you expect there to be some stuff?
I think, like, Jason Ronald's probably there just to take some of the shine off SteamOS, because SteamOS is coming in really strong at CES. And they're going to be releasing a handheld in partnership with Lenovo, which will be a more powerful Steam Deck in essence, right? So Valve's probably gonna keep the most affordable options within their wheelhouse, but then, like, a higher end Steam Deck, they'll work with OEMs on that, like Lenovo. Maybe Lenovo has exclusivity, because it leaked that Lenovo's doing a Steam Deck handheld. Evan Blast leaked it, and so it's not like people don't know this is happening. I have to wonder if, like, Jason Ronald's just kind of there to be like, hey, Windows still exists, guys. Windows is still a thing, because everyone hates Windows for gaming. Everyone hates it. I mean, people hate it until it's not there, right? But everyone hates Windows because how Microsoft's kind of taken it for granted and not really worked very hard on improving the operating system, especially for gamers, right? And there's all these Linux distros which run games better if it was more compatible, and Windows has a lot of technical debt hanging over it. And then there's all the bullshit that Microsoft tries to put into Windows, like the AI stuff nobody wants, or the ads for OneDrive and stuff nobody wants. But at the same time, just to look at Microsoft's perspective as well, they don't make any money on Windows. So it's not like SteamOS where they can sort of make these devices very rapidly, because it's subsidized, and that's why those devices are quite cheap. The Steam Deck is quite cheap compared to Asus ROG Ally, because Asus ROG Ally there's no subsidized software sales on the side, right? So I reckon Jason Ronald's presence is probably going to be along the lines of, here's what we're doing to make Windows a better place to play games on these devices. So maybe there'll be a bunch of, like, upgrades for Windows, or they announce a bunch of upgrades for Windows on those kind of devices, whether it's like UI stuff or hopefully performance stuff, because I think, like I mentioned on last week's show, like, some of these, there's a lot of good YouTubers out there who do comparisons of, like, how games perform on Steam Deck versus equivalent system running on Windows, and all that, like, Windows overhead does hit performance, right? And also, like, hits battery performance too. Like Steam has like really good idle battery life, which is what you want in a mobile device, right? So I think Jason's going to be there to talk about tech more than products. But who knows, man? I mean, we know that Lenovo's got a Legion Go 2 coming out, which will be Windows based, and probably not going to be cheap. I'm imagining $1,000 for that thing, bro. I reckon the Lenovo Legion Go 2 is $1,000. That's my guess. Rand?
Yeah, I mean, I don't give a shit about Lenovo and Legion Go.
Yeah, but I just think that's where we're getting to with these devices.
Sure. But
And I think
I'm
Steam is gonna have a significant price advantage. I think when like the Windows devices come in way more expensive, just because of all the bloat that comes with Windows, whether it's from a licensing perspective or just a tech overhead perspective. I don't know.
so I guess
So I don't expect anything Xboxy there.
so no
basically.
Xbox third party OEMs. You're not going to see a console from Samsung or
No.
Dell or Asus or Lenovo. That say,
I don't
hey,
think so.
No Xbox
I would be
branded
surprised. I would be
handheld by
surprised.
anybody. No Xbox handheld themselves. That they're making. So
No, I'd be surprised if there was any Xbox hardware at the event, but crazy things can happen.
I was thinking about the third party OEM stuff, and I feel like Microsoft's the right company to move in that direction, but also the wrong company to move in that direction. Right in the sense that they're in a position where, unlike PlayStation and Nintendo, where they have to take risks because they're like PlayStation and Nintendo still have a good grasp of their user base, right? And they still sell enough hardware and all these sort of things to kind of remain where they're at. But like Microsoft and Xbox has kind of been, ever since the Xbox One reveal, like basically trying to like swim upriver, and they have to do things differently to kind of stand out and to the public, and so it's like one of those things is like, hey, what if we had somebody else make our hardware for us, and we wouldn't have to spend so much money on it. If they could do marketing for it, so like, because like Microsoft's awful at marketing, it's like, well, maybe it's easier for them to make those consoles and sell them in places like Germany and the UK and other places where we're not as strong. And if we're not going to make those consoles, then why not have somebody else? So like they're the right company to do it, to usher it in that way, because they're in a position where they have to try these new things. But I also feel like they're the wrong company to also do it, because I feel like they don't have the brand equity to really pull it off in a way that really is going to work. And what I mean by that is Xbox has a hard enough time selling their own hardware made by themselves. And like when presented with options, people will choose a Switch or a PlayStation over it. And I don't really see that changing if it's like, well, it's an Xbox, but it's an Xbox made by Lenovo.
No,
right?
but
So
finish your point, and I'll tell you why you're wrong in a minute.
I feel like, who could really usher in this idea of multiple hardware companies making this sort of stuff is someone with like a bigger brand name like PlayStation. Like if PlayStation decided, all right, we're going to make hardware, but then we're also going to let other people make hardware. I feel like because PlayStation has a bigger, more established brand globally, that I think it would like work better. Like people would be more willing to. I don't know, because I still see like a lot of questions about the hardware approach for them. I don't know.
Right. The reason why I disagree is because it won't be called an Xbox.
Okay.
So what they're essentially gonna do is they'll just call it like Lenovo Legion Go X or something like that. with Xbox OS. It won't be a case of like, oh, it's an Xbox made by Lenovo. The brand will be Lenovo, right?
Mm.
And they'll take that brand to markets where people trust Lenovo, you know,
And where do
the
people
East.
trust Lenovo at?
Well, globally, but more so the East. You
Okay.
know, Lenovo's a Chinese
Well, yeah, I
brand.
mean, I guess I'd agree with you on that because I do think the Xbox name is a hindrance in the East and a lot of the continental European countries. So, okay, that makes sense because branding it an Xbox, I still think would have the same issues that current Xbox hardware has. It's like, what's the difference between an Xbox made by an Xbox and an Xbox made by Samsung? It's the name, right? But if you're not going
Yeah.
to call it that, then all right, well that solves
There's
one of the
another
issues with it. It was like,
there's
okay,
another
well,
aspect. There's another aspect here. And something that people don't talk about enough of in analyzing the game industry, especially like YouTubers and stuff like that, is your retail representation. Microsoft has a very weak and underfunded retail arm, right? And your retail arm is basically the team that goes to big retailers like, Media Markt in Germany, or, Curry's in the UK, or I suppose Target in America. Where do you buy tech in America? Is it Target?
Best Buy,
Best Buy, stuff
Amazon,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So Microsoft has a very weak US centric retail arm where their representatives go there and say you should take stock of this device because it does this, this, and this, and your customers will like it. They have like non-existent retail arm in Europe. They have non-existent retail arm in Asia, and these crucially these emerging markets like India, for example, which purchasing power in India is rapidly growing. Brazil as well, and stuff like that. So they have like a non-existent footprint there. But the companies that do have an existing footprint there are companies like Lenovo, Dell, and all these hardware manufacturers, Samsung, which have existed in these countries for decades. So they have like existing massive, um, infrastructure to and relationships to bring those devices to those markets and those retailers, and explain why they're good. So that solves another issue for them. So I think when it comes to America, you know, um, when it comes to America and the UK, I think Microsoft will already has like a good brand recognition and trust in the US, UK, and maybe some other Anglo-centric markets like Canada and Australia potentially. Though Australia has a lot of regulations, which makes the game industry difficult, but that's another topic of discussion. But I think that's why Microsoft will maintain its own hardware for those markets. But I think global markets, um, yeah, I think that's the advantage there. You get Samsung in Korea, you get Lenovo in China, it's Asus Taiwan. I think Asus is Taiwan, if I remember correctly. You could do all kinds of stuff, and you could even work with up and coming manufacturers to license the operating system out. And then you've got your core Xbox experience for the markets which already have an install base, right? So that's how I think it is.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking of because it's like when people talk about hey Xbox letting third parties make the hardware, in my mind it's like branded Xbox. It's got the Xbox logo on it, and to me it was just like okay, but why would somebody care like for this, like why would somebody use like no interest in Xbox hardware before suddenly be like all right I'm gonna get the Asus one, right? And it's just like I don't really see how that's gonna change. And but the way you describe it as like, well, no, it's just gonna be an Asus this, and it'll just have the Xbox OS on it, but it won't be Xbox branded. It's like okay, well that kind of alleviates some of the concern I have of like why would somebody in Germany who doesn't care about Xbox hardware care about Xbox hardware made by a different company? And it's like, well, it wouldn't be branded Xbox, so maybe it has a chance to succeed at that point. But
They'll have a vested interest in making it work too. So like they'll have like a whole department which knows how to market things in Germany or China or Korea, which is information that Microsoft doesn't have, or you know, an existing infrastructure for that purpose, right? You could get your partner your partner OEMs to deliver that experience. You know, it's like Surface isn't sold in every market, right? For exactly the same reason. There would not, there's no universe where they could even compete with some of these other OEMs. But it's a little bit different with Surface because, like, goes back to that Windows thing. Windows isn't subsidized, which is why the Surface devices are really expensive, and they're more like reference devices for the OEMs to innovate upon, and they pretty much make those devices to test out new things for OEMs to follow, like the Copilot plus PCs and all that shit, which nobody cared about. So I think it does solve some issues, and I think it's inevitably going to happen, especially when you've got Steam doing it. You know, the issue will be execution. It'll be execution again, and also it's complicated because you're essentially quitting competing with PlayStation in order to compete with Steam in that universe. And it's like, okay, well, you've quit one battle and walked headfirst into another battle. Arguably, the Steam battle's more important because that threatens Windows itself, you know. So I can see why Microsoft will be like, we'll bow out of this battle and go for this battle instead, because this is potentially an issue here. And the competition with Steam should, in theory, result in a better Windows, a more optimized Windows for gaming in general, and hopefully more usable for these kind of devices. But what that means for console, like the Xbox we put under our TV, you know, hopefully not a lot. I mean, I can see like it being more open to other platforms, like maybe they get Proton running on it, so like you can have, you know, blanket Steam compatibility, because a lot of the backwards compatibility with the next Xbox, if it is more Windows oriented, like Win32 is the dev environment first and foremost, then you have to imagine that there'll need to be some kind of backwards compatibility for, you know, the Xbox ERA stuff. Xbox ERA being what the development environment of the Xbox One, Xbox Series X and X is. Because presumably that wouldn't run out of the box on the next Xbox unless it had the chips in it that are designed for that, which would again inflate the price. So it's, you know, that's why this whole forwards backwards compatibility team was talked about at the start of the year. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of sort of moving parts to this story, and it's ultimately going to fall on execution, because if it's a bad experience, they could end up like alienating, you know, the current Xbox audience, and then just reminding everyone that SteamOS has done it better, and that Xbox is way too far behind, and they can't catch up to SteamOS. So they've essentially given up competing with PlayStation to chase Steam, and end up losing both. So it's a fucking risky strategy, if you ask me, Rand 419.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's very risky, you know. But you can't really keep on doing what you were doing, right? So you got to change it up.
Got to try something.
And it's like, all right, well, let's see how this goes. Face23 BKY with the 1999 says, I think an Asus, Samsung, Lenovo, Xbox will cost more than a PS5 Pro.
Absolutely will. Yeah. Absolutely will.
But as Jez just said, it won't even be branded an Xbox. It'll just be an Asus. Probably, I did see a tweet from them where they're going to unveil their next mini gaming PC or whatever. I think the tweet's been deleted, but yeah, like,
what,
you know,
I would say what Microsoft needs to do, if they are serious about this, they need to make it so the cost to license the Xbox operating system for OEMs is like zero. Because if Microsoft's like going to subsidize the operating system by selling games, I don't think you can have your cake and eat it, because I don't think Steam's going to have its cake and eat it. I think maybe Steam takes like a little cut licensing it out to Lenovo, but it's not going to be like the kind of cut that Windows asks for. At least I don't. At least I don't think it will be. So I think like it could make Microsoft rethink the licensing model for Windows in general, because Windows is expensive by virtue of the fact that they've had no competition for up until now. Like there's nobody that really makes there's no OEM that really builds other systems. Like they're pissed around with Chrome OS for a while, but who the fuck wants Chrome OS? Nobody wants Chrome OS. But like Steam OS, like with Proton, that's kind of different. I think there's real potential there to even go beyond gaming, and I think Microsoft probably sees that as oh shit, this is actually serious, you know. But I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be that nobody wants those devices anyway, but Microsoft has to take that seriously, I think, which is why I think this is happening in the first place. But
it's gonna be, yeah. I mean, I was kind of wondering, it's like, well, how's it gonna work when you have an Xbox made by Microsoft that's branded Xbox on store shelves that you can buy, that's called the Xbox Series X2 or whatever the hell they would call the next Xbox by them. But then also like these Xboxes made by these other OEMs. And I was like, how does that work? I mean, people already talk about the naming conventions of, you know, the Series S and the Xbox One S, and there was even an article Windows Central just released about like the Microsoft naming conventions. So it's like, okay, so imagine a future where there's the actual Xbox made by Xbox, but then all these other gaming devices that are Xboxes that have the OS on them. In my mind, those were also branded Xboxes. And I'm like, well, how the hell is that going to work? How do you explain that to a consumer? And they're going to be like, well, what's the difference between this Dell Xbox and this Xbox by Xbox, and which one's the better thing, and why is this one's more expensive? So I'm like imagining all these scenarios in my head. I was just like, man, I don't know how that's really going to work out. But if they're not going to brand them that, and it's just like, here's this Samsung, and it just has the Xbox OS on it, but it doesn't have the logo or the name. It's like, okay. And then like the only Xbox on store shelves will be the one that Microsoft produces for whatever price. Like, okay, maybe that works a little bit better, but even still, even very much like with the handhelds, it's like, I don't know how much of a market there is for those things. You know, Steam tried this 10 years ago with the Steam machines. Didn't take off.
yeah,
Now, maybe it takes off this time. Who knows? But it's not like, you know, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see what happens and how these things are. I mean, I saw some tweets from some kids who got PS5s for Christmas, and they were bitching because they weren't PCs. And that's where you always talk about Gen Alpha and everybody, but like they want to move to PCs because like that's where their friends are, and that's where like their influencers that they watch and stuff, they're on PCs. And they're worried about the next generation, because as we age and game, you know, we age out of this hobby, normally we'd be replaced by the young kids who got into Nintendo and then graduated to PlayStation and Xbox. But those kids, they're just skipping right to PC. Because, you know, PCs are affordable. There's many different, you know, configurations you can use to get to.
and they're good for homework.
Yeah, and they're starting like they're playing games on their tablets from day one, and they expect certain things to be priced a certain way. They don't have any of that loyalty that's built up after, you know, like, you know, you play on Nintendo as a kid and you grow up to it and you just have this loyalty to it because it's always been there with you and they've always done right by you, or Xbox or PlayStation. And they don't care. Like, they expect games to be everywhere. They expect you open up a device, I expect to be able to play my game. And so, like, the younger generation is just completely different than how it used to be. And, you know, it's like, how does that change all this stuff? And it's, I don't know, I'm very curious to see how the third party OEM stuff works out. You know,
Well,
like,
the difference was like back then, like it's Proton breakthroughs with Proton has been the game changer here, because developers don't have to do anything to get their game running on Proton. It's like it's Valve and the team working on Proton that works on the compatibility for each game, right? Some of them work really well, some of them don't, you know, and that's kind of the issue that has created a viability for Steam machines in this generation that wasn't there previously. So, competition's good, and it will hopefully give Microsoft a bit of a wake-up call, but Microsoft's got like so many distractions now. Just makes me wonder, like, is Xbox spreading itself too thin? They're opening up a war now on two fronts, and they talk about how we can't compete with PlayStation, so we're giving up. So it's like, oh, okay, so you're going to compete with Steam instead? Isn't that insane? But I also do wonder, like, if they pull it off, it could give developers a bigger platform on Xbox than they've ever had previously. If it's like we can take the Steam package and just have it run on Windows, because games are still developed for Windows first. They're not developed necessarily with Proton in mind, although more and more games are being developed with Proton in mind. It's still a vanishingly small amount of people right now, but it is being hugely disruptive. And I think that's where Microsoft's like trying to boost its innovation is in heading off that potentiality that Proton with SteamOS eventually becomes the preferred way to play PC games, because could happen. I think on the Steam survey, it's like Linux is like 5% now or something. I think it's got the biggest percentage it's ever had, and a lot of that is Steam Deck, of course. So I don't know. The competition should help Windows, but will it help Xbox? Or will it not just be this sort of misnomer where they go off chasing something and end up screwing everything up? I don't know.
I see this article.
There's not a huge amount of faith. There's not a big supply of faith in Xbox's strategy right now, I think, from some people. Myself included, I would say. But I think if they do pull it off, it could be really good.
Kotaku wrote this article. I'm seeing the headline here. Xbox game streaming still down after 24 hours, reminding us that your phone isn't actually an Xbox.
Huh.
Is this true, Jez? Is game streaming down on the phone?
I did not know that, but if it is true, then I need to tell someone to write it up.
Microsoft says it's working on getting cloud gaming up and running for Game Pass subs. So let's see. On December 26th, Microsoft confirmed that its Game Pass cloud streaming platform wasn't working as expected. Over 24 hours later, many players are still complaining about long waits and disconnects. This outage comes at a time when Microsoft has been pushing a new marketing slogan that claims everything connected to the internet is an Xbox. Yeah, so apparently they tweeted out this morning, users may see an incorrectly high wait time when attempting to launch a cloud gaming title. Our teams expect the users will be able to connect faster than the elevated time shown. Okay. So cloud streaming is a problem right now on Xbox. So Mr. EF with the 499 says, I don't mind paying for an Xbox branded PC that could use all PC gaming as well. $1,500 for a 5080 equivalent, basically a pro model day one. $1,500 for a 5080 equivalent? Is that what you think the 5080 is going to be? Isn't it going to be way more expensive than that? For Jazz, weren't some of those leaked prices for the 5080 and 5090s kind of ridiculous? Like 5090 with like the whole PC built in, it was like $7,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
like for the whole build.
Yeah. But like, it's also like it's subsidized a little bit there. So, but then again, the OEM doesn't get the subsidy, so they have to get the subsidy. The profit has to be on the hardware for them. So like, this is where Steam's advantage comes in. That's why like the Steam Deck is fairly cheaper than the other devices. But a 5080 by itself is probably going to be like what? 1650, 1700 maybe. But like if it was like equivalent console equivalent, that it would be subsidized. but only if Microsoft was making it. So if Lenovo was making it, it wouldn't be subsidized, so it wouldn't be cheaper, in theory. But we also don't know what kind of licensing deal those chips will, because you have to imagine that they're probably all going to be AMD based devices, and there's probably going to be some kind of like, I don't know, exclusivity partnership, which in exchange for lower prices or something like that. I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah, I don't know either.
We'll see.
Hey, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, make sure you hit the like button, please, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's take a look at some Patreon questions, because figured we get some of these and we head out. Hopefully everybody's having a great day. We have SithBanks87, who says, question, what single player game have you replayed the most? For me, Dante's Inferno on the 360. It's definitely my top 5 of all time. I would love a remaster. Dante's Inferno was a cool game, for sure.
And I never finished it, but it was incredibly cool game.
Most played
it's funny,
single
earlier
player?
I already know mine from a previous Xbox Unwrapped, and it was Dragon Age Origins, which is why it's so depressing and miserable that Dragon Age Veilguard was such a dump of a game,
I would say probably one of the Halo games, like Halo 3 or something. Because I know I played Halo 3 multiple times. So I played it when it came out, and I played it again on Master Chief Collection. And I did the lassos for it. And then Legendary difficulty. So if I were to guess for a single player game, it would be one of the Halos. Would be my guess. Silas says, happy early new year. We all know Microsoft hasn't been the best at avoiding missteps, and I feel they are about to make another one by releasing Avowed in February. The last preview run was super positive. It's a kind of new IP, and it's releasing days after Civ 7 and Kingdom Come Deliverance. Days after Avowed comes out, we have a new Yakuza and a Monster Hunter Wilds. It seems like it's being sent out to die. Do they not believe in it? They should release it in January, a direct shadow drop, or hold it until March. That release date makes no sense. I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast before about what do you do with Avowed, which, honestly, they probably should have just kept it in November where it was all along, because there was that gap in November when, like, really nothing was out, and they moved it, and then, like, all these games suddenly started coming in February. So, but I will say, like, I don't think they're worried about Civ 7 whatsoever. And Kingdom Come Deliverance did get moved up a week. So there is like a 2-week gap there. I mean, they are sitting on top of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which has its own problems recently, right? With all the culture war stuff about that game. And I don't really think Yakuza's that big of a deal to the type of game Avowed is. And Yakuza, especially like that spinoff of Yakuza, I can't see somebody like saying like, well, I'm not going to play Avowed because a new Yakuza game comes out in 2 weeks. Monster Hunter Wilds, yeah, that's probably, that's going to be a massive game that eats up a lot of time. I would imagine, I don't know, Jez, what do you think? I would imagine they're just sitting there and they're just like, Game Pass, people are it's going to show up on their Game Pass thing and people are going to play it. We thought maybe it's like, well, is Indiana Jones doing well? Because it really didn't seem like it was pulling great numbers on Steam. And then NPD comes out and they're like, for the week it released, it was the second best-selling game of the week or whatever it was, which was like, oh, so I guess it's selling well. It wasn't number one, but it was doing all right. So I don't know. I think part of it is like they dated Avowed, and I don't necessarily think they want to move it at this point. And maybe they couldn't move it forward to January because it just wouldn't have been ready. And it's like, well, you just move it back a month? I don't really know their line of thinking about Avowed's release date.
I think they've just got to a point where it's like we've just got to ship it now and just accept what happens because they've delayed it previously, and I think at some point you just have to ship. I think we talked about how like some Xbox. I think Microsoft has a cohort of people who target playing games in Game Pass, so it's not like there won't be anyone playing it. But yeah, I do hope that they accept that their launch runway has some potential road bumps there, given the plurality of high quality games launching within that window. But you don't always know how Microsoft fully thinks about some of these things.
Yeah. And maybe they can't move it back because maybe South of Midnight's launching in March. And if you moved Avowed back to March, does that mean you have to move South of Midnight back further? Because there are rumors that suggest South of Midnight could be launching in March. Or, I think April's a more prime spot for it, but you never know. It's like maybe moving Avowed screws up other stuff, and at that point you're just like, hey, it's in Game Pass. Hopefully the reviews are positive and people can play it. But I would have preferred it to come out in January as well, or March, when the release schedule wasn't as jam packed as it was. But they've made their choice, it seems. DZ Huffin says, "Happy holidays, Rand and Jez. Microsoft added support for default touch controls layout to console streaming a while ago, so you could play any game with touch, even if developers haven't implemented it themselves." Jez, did you know about this?
I did not.
It doesn't work very well for every title, but I recently played Metaphor, The New Life is Strange, Stray, and Balatro with default touch controls, and it felt pretty good. I like that I don't have to carry my controller around. The annoying thing here is that it's not supported on xCloud still. You can only use touch for games where developers enabled it. Could you think of any good reason why that is the case?
Okay.
I guess they had to add it for the console streaming because even if the game supports touch controls, you'll still need a way to navigate console UI and launch it. But I think it would be beneficial to have this option for cloud streaming as well. They could show a prompt that there is no official touch support for the game, and users could decide by themselves if they want to try it out. P.S. Balatro on xCloud without touch controls is a crime.
Yeah, yeah, there is a default touch control scheme that can be enabled, but I think some developers don't turn it on because they think it's a bad experience. But I also agree with you that people should be allowed to decide for themselves. The dev doesn't get to choose what kind of USB controller I use. I could be using some trash USB controller that costs like $20 that I bought from Temu or something like that, which wouldn't be a great experience either. So I completely agree that they should just enable touch controls for everything and just have a pop-up saying like, yeah, if do it at your own peril. Because there are some games where there are some games where there is a default touch controls enabled that really don't work well, in my opinion. Like Pillars of Eternity, for example. Pillars of Eternity has default touch controls. At least they did at launch. I don't know if they changed them, but they're terrible. But when the touch controls are actually designed for the game, they can work really, really well. Like Minecraft Dungeons, Scarlet Nexus was another game that had custom touch controls, and obviously Genshin Impact has the full Android touch controls layout, which is fantastically well done. So yeah, but I think the truth is that not a lot of people actually play games on touch that way. Most people do go and plug in a controller. So it's probably like a thing for them, saying like they just don't think it's worth investing the money into that stuff. But maybe more people would use it if they did invest into it. So I don't know.
Rave Damos says, "Hey Rand and Jez, I'm here to wrangle a wrestling answer out of you. As you, mostly Jez, continue to get back into wrestling, did you pick up the WWE 2K24 40 Years of WrestleMania edition that was on sale during the holidays. And who's your favorite wrestler of all time? Mine, probably like many
Ooh.
others, is The Rock, and before it was The Undertaker.
I do own WWE 2K24, but I haven't actually ever launched it. Again, just another one of them, just ain't that time. My favorite wrestler of all time is Mick Foley, Mankind.
The Rock, baby.
Hu-
It's all about The Rock.
I was a huge fan of Mick Foley as a youngin. So big. There's even a picture of me somewhere wearing the Mick Foley spray painted referee jersey. I spray painted a school shirt. I can pretend to be a referee in backyard wrestling. That picture will never see the light of day. But yeah, Mick Foley, baby. Chat, tell us your favorite wrestlers. Wakacha said Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio, yeah. Some people say CM Punk, Austin, HBK.
Bret Hart,
Bret
man.
Hart, yeah. Hulk Hogan. I mean, someone is going to probably say Hogan or Macho Man. Macho Man, yeah. Pat Rock, who says, Achievement here. Do y'all have a favorite PC parts manufacturer brand like MSI or Corsair? I tend to like Asus products, so when they made a handheld, it was kind of a no-brainer purchase for me. I have zero. I don't have a favorite PC. This is all Jez. I mean, Jez? You have a favorite PC parts manufacturer?
I haven't built a PC since my early 20s, so I go for pre-build these days because I don't have a fixed abode. So I think if I did get a fixed address eventually, I'm quite fond of Corsair's accessories. So maybe I'd go with Corsair for some of that stuff. But I know that you couldn't make a whole PC out of Corsair stuff, from what I know. But I don't know. I'm really well out of the game with that. I always buy Razer laptops. That's where I'm at these days.
Yeah, you like the Razer stuff.
I like my Razer.
Sleek
Omen and sexy.
Says, so the year is almost to an end, and objectively, Microsoft absolutely dominated the news cycle the entire year for better or for worse. And they actually did. Fantastic for exclusives, too. Between Power World, Stalker 2, and Indiana Jones, they had a lot of genuine popular hits that were Xbox exclusives at launch. If we count PC, Game Pass games, Manor Lords, and Frostpunk 2 were also pretty popular as well. And for multiplayer games, they had Call of Duty, Fallout, the Diablo expansions, and Sea of Thieves on PS5 too. That said, the Microsoft multiplayer push and the closing of studios and layoffs definitely offset much of the positive progress. So my question is, what do you think is the actual public sentiment of Xbox is today? Not the hardcore. Do you think the Xbox team's internal sentiment is similar? Yeah,
It's a complicated question. I think the problem with sentiment, right? I think so much of what is deemed to be cool tends to fall on younger generations.
Yeah.
And I think younger generations don't see Xbox as cool. I think they see it as a boomer device. Personally speaking. And that's Xbox's own doing because they underinvested in younger generations. But I think fashion can be cyclical though. So like even though like Xbox isn't cool now, maybe that doesn't mean it won't be cool in the future if Microsoft like sets up its strategy correctly. I think sentiment wise, it's interesting because I do find that Xbox is still ubiquitous in cultural discussions in America. I often find that like in TV shows, they usually talk about Xbox as being the default. More so than I would ever hear like in the UK, they're probably more likely to say PlayStation or even Nintendo over Xbox. So I think in America at least, Xbox still has some cachet, but globally I'd say no, not so much. I'd say they're teetering on irrelevancy. But that might just be my cynicism. That's my perception at least. I don't know if Rand has an alternative perception.
It's weird because I watched a lot of reactions to the Xbox showcase this year, a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life and stuff had reacted to it because of how good it was. And like you watch them, like the Xbox stuff, it kind of starts off as, "Oh, I'm not expecting much from this. It's Xbox after all." Right?
Yeah.
Like already it's kind of it's like starting off low where it's like I don't expect anything from them. And then people are surprised and shocked about all the stuff that's coming and it's like, "Oh my god, it's amazing." And sometimes I'll just come across a stream on YouTube or sometimes on Twitch where like the topic of Xbox comes up, and then whoever's the streamer will just be like, "Xbox is trash," and the chat's we're like whatever. So sometimes I think the sentiment among the public isn't that isn't that good, and I sort of wonder if by doing more multiplat stuff, if they'll be more thought of as like EA or like Take-Two, where people don't even know the publisher. They're just like, "Oh, the new Call of Duty's out." Like to the people who play Call of Duty, doesn't even matter about who owns the game.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, or
yeah, I know what you mean.
or it's like, "Hey, the new Doom is out." Like when Doom comes out, are people going to be thinking like, "Oh man, Microsoft did a great job with this"? I don't think that's really going to come across anybody's minds outside of the people that know that Microsoft, owns Bethesda.
I think that's an issue, and I think Microsoft should put their mark on things. But I will say, like, at least in the Blizzard community, I've noticed people have started blaming Microsoft for things.
Well, there's only a matter of time before they would start blaming, or any decline in Overwatch or Diablo or whatever would be blamed on Microsoft for that stuff.
They're blaming Microsoft for the quality of Blizzard support, because it's all like AI based now. Obviously, Microsoft's the AI company, right? So that must mean that Microsoft made it AI, and I tend to agree. But yeah, I don't know.
I know, but then I've seen people in other streams where they talk about like Game Pass and how good it is. It's like, "Oh, Game Pass is great." So it's like, I think maybe sentiment. I'll just say like sentiment's maybe mixed depending on where you go and
Mixed.
who that person is. Like some people are never gonna have a high opinion on Microsoft in general because if you think about a company that you trust, Microsoft isn't normally one of those companies, right? Like people don't trust Microsoft. And Xbox has kind of been languishing in the third place, for a long time from the Xbox One on. And I think sentiment shifted. And that's maybe one of the reasons why people like their conference so much, is because I don't think really a lot of people know what's going on within Xbox. So they're shocked when they have all these games. And it's like, well, what'd you expect? They own 2 publishers and 15, 16 other studios. It was only a matter of time before all this stuff started to release. So I think for a lot of a lot of people, I'm not saying a lot of people have like an internal like knowledge of like what Nintendo's doing or what PlayStation is doing, but I really think the knowledge about what Xbox is and what they own and what they're doing, I think is even less than how people perceived and know about what PlayStation or Nintendo are up to, right? Like you look at when Nintendo, like the Switch 2 is coming out and everybody's super excited about it, but you don't know anything about any of their games because they haven't revealed it yet. Yet the excitement for the Switch 2 is palpable. You can see it on social media, right? And even with PlayStation, like PlayStation fans have been begging PlayStation for more showcases and like making up showcases that don't exist. Because there was supposed to be a secret showcase for the 30th anniversary. Then there was supposed to be a secret showcase last year. People are already begging for a state of play at the beginning of next year because they're not satisfied because Sony doesn't have a lot of games announced.
Mm.
You know, from you know, like this point movie, like all they have announced are like Ghost of Yotai, Death Stranding 2, Wolverine, which was I think announced in 2021 at this point. Um, Fair Games. I'm trying to think what else they have announced that hasn't come out yet. It's like 4 or 5 games, and then Xbox has like 20 something. But I feel like Xbox isn't in like part of the culture of zeitgeist, so like people don't know that, and they just have this like cursory. They're just like working off of information about how Xbox used to be like 3 or 4 years ago, and you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Like even when you listen to like mainstream podcasts that talk about gaming, they hardly ever talk about Xbox, and when they do, they'll talk about Xbox in the sense that like, oh man, Indiana Jones is such a great game. And, you know, they'll be like, yeah, it really is. Like, yeah, it's the best game Microsoft's put out in 15 years. And it's like, what? Like, Microsoft has put out a ton of great games this generation, but they'll be like, Microsoft hasn't released anything in the last 10 years, going back to 20. And it's like, that's absurd. But that is somehow like how those people view it because they're not on the platform and they don't really know. You know, they play on PC or they play on PlayStation or they're Nintendo people. So to them, Xbox just hasn't done anything in years. And anytime there's articles about it, it's how, you know, like, oh, Xbox is dying. There's a recent article about how, man, Avowed, Xbox's 2025 is stacked. But if Avowed or Outer Worlds 2 is bad, it's going to ruin Xbox or whatever the headline was. You still get that stuff. So it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy that to think about this stuff and how the you know, and I don't know how Xbox fights that perception. It's clearly something that is impacting them, you know, and it eats up into their hardware sales. Like, you know, they were 29% down in November from the previous November, which I think you said that you had heard that they weren't happy with. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, those aren't good numbers. And it's like, how do you change that? And how do you change the perception of how Xbox is viewed outside of the hardcore into the people that, you know, the casuals that are buying the consoles now? Because it's not the hardcore who's buying it now. The hardcore have all made their decisions at launch. So the people buying it now are, you know, I guess you could say more casual approach. It's like, well, why isn't Xbox, you know, resonating with the casual audience as much as the other ones? And it's you need to answer those questions. And it's just because, I mean, I don't know. And I sort of wonder, like, my thing was, if you have a stretch of a bunch of years where you just release great content, then people's minds will change. And maybe that still could, because Xbox has had a stretch where it was like, hey, 2021 was amazing, and then 2022 was shit. And then 2023 was pretty good, but, you know, still some misses. And then 2024 was pretty good, but still a couple misses here where there's still some things like, oh, you were looking forward to Redfall, but that was crap. And those Minecraft Legends came out, but nobody remembered it after a week. And people were expecting Starfield to be Skyrim 2, and it didn't turn out that way. And then I think, you know, it's like the games are good, but sometimes the expectations on them are a little bit too much. And then you get to this year, and it's like, yeah, Indiana Jones was great, and Call of Duty Black Ops was great. And the DLCs for stuff was great, and Hellblade 2, you know, maybe didn't live up to what people thought it was, but it was that, like, oh man, they hadn't released anything for 9 months, and it was just Hellblade. And it seems, if you're not following the platform, that they don't release anything. And if the stuff they do release isn't any good, especially when you have people being like, Indiana Jones is the best game they've released in the whole generation or in the last 15 years, right? And I understand personal, you know, people's personal subjective opinion about Indiana Jones, but it's like also kind of, it's like, no, there have been other great games, you just don't know about them, or, you know, you didn't play them, you know what I mean?
Like Crackdown, what a banger.
Oh yeah, Crackdown, what a banger.
Triple A banger, bro. Triple A banger. Yeah, you know, tend to agree. It's sentiment's hard to measure, but I would hope that Microsoft has like good
Well,
analytics on that
it's like
information.
sometimes perception is reality.
Yeah,
How you're, I mean,
I think that I genuinely think the big issue with not just Xbox but all the publicly traded companies is that Microsoft and they all need to invest more to get themselves out of the rut they're in. But the shareholders extracting the wealth because they're shareholders is kind of stopping them from doing what they potentially need to do to pivot. So I think there's just going to be this because they went all in on a certain way during the pandemic, and now they're like, oh shit, this isn't going to work now, so we need to change tactics. But at the same time, the shareholders they still want to extract the money out. So the money that they could use to pivot and prepare for the future is being used to pad the quarterly bottom line, which is, going to be problematic. I think that's why we see EA go through these cycles of like, EA is actually doing something good for once, and then it's like, oh, actually no, they're doing shit again, and it's just like during the good times they siphon out the profits, buy back shares or whatever, give dividends, and then during the hard times they do layoffs and contract, which is what we're seeing now, I think. Yeah, shareholders, man. I mean, they don't really contribute anything to the actual product other than whining about when things aren't going their way.
all right, we have, let's see here. We have Sierra 11 Kevin saying, "Hey, Rand and Jez, always appreciate you both. Jez, in Canada, the ROG Ally is on sale at a price of $5.99 Canadian and is just shy of being half the price of the ROG Ally X. Couple of questions. One, are there any significant values on the ROG Ally X over the original to consider? And two, is there anything you are hearing about the Lenovo handheld in January event that might give you a pause in recommending an original ROG Ally?"
I would say wait for CES because a lot of new devices are going to be announced at CES, which may make you think I should have put that $500 towards a new device. So I would say wait, maybe. But if you're sort of like itching, I don't think the ROG Ally X is a worthy upgrade over the original Z1 Extreme model. I mean, it'll give you a bit more battery life, but I think the trade-offs like extra weight and things like that, I don't think it's worth it personally. And also like how Wakache says in chat, the new MSI Claw is actually surprisingly good. And this is after like slamming Intel's first version of it. So I watched the video by Dave 2D who said that the new MSI Claw is like actually performing really well. Has some compatibility issues, and that'll get better over time as drivers improve. But I think there's a lot of reasons to wait. At this point, I would wait for CES and see what comes down the pipe. Personally. Or stick with the Asus ROG Ally base model.
We have Walkerman. He says, "Hope you both had an amazing holiday. Let's play a game. With the success of Indiana Jones, what book or movie from your youth would you love to see made into a game next? Have a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year."
Book or movie?
From my youth. So the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of my youth, I think of the Goonies. You know?
I've seen that, but I can't remember it. I was really young.
Man, could the Goonies be made into a cool action adventure game like Indiana Jones? Yeah, they probably could. God, I love the Goonies so much.
You know what? Unironically, I really want Machine Games, Indiana Jones team to do now.
What?
Basically, same engine, Blade Runner. Instead of archaeology investigations, like crime investigations and shit, boost the gunplay to coincide with, having to do more gunplay. Because get Troy Baker again for Harrison Ford. Dude, that'd fucking rip. You telling me that wouldn't be amazing? Blade Runner by
No,
Machine Games.
yeah, it could be pretty cool. I don't know how Goonies like game would work, but if I'm talking about my youth, it's like, yeah, I want that. Or I guess you could be like, well, I mean, we've had Transformers games. Trying to think what else.
Oh, I know what I'd want.
What?
I would want the Doom team to make a Chainsaw Man game.
Ooh, okay.
Just make it violent as fuck.
Lee Sanders says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to both. Do you think Xbox will avoid GTA, or do you think their release strategy won't change? Personally, I don't see GTA coming out in 2025. It has spring 2026 written all over it, but curious what you think about the potential schedule there. Yes, I think if Xbox has a game that's releasing, let's just say hypothetically Outer Worlds 2 coming September 20th, and Grand Theft Auto is launching September 15th, yes, I think Outer Worlds 2 gets delayed at that point. I think because I think there's a whole world of difference between Assassin's Creed Shadows, Civ 7, a Yakuza pirate game, and Grand Theft fucking Auto. There's like, you know what I mean? So while you would want to see Avowed maybe have more space for itself where people could appreciate it and not be bottlenecked by these other games, you know that not everybody is going to be playing all those other games mentioned, and people might still, there will be plenty of people who will be like, all right, Avowed's in Game Pass, I'm playing it, or Avowed's got really good reviews, I'm going to buy it on Steam. The difference is everybody you know and your mother is going to be playing Grand Theft Auto. There's going to be no time for any other game. It'll be, everybody on Twitch will be streaming it, everybody on YouTube will be streaming it, the player count on Steam will be astronomical. The player numbers on Xbox and PlayStation will be astronomical. I guess I should ask you this, Jez. For a prediction, do you think Grand Theft Auto 6 will launch day one on Switch 2?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no, huh? Okay.
I'm going to predict no.
Is it because it can't run on it, or just because...
I think it's because they're focused more on the AMD stuff, okay. I'm going to say.
Would it be a big get for Nintendo if it did launch on the Switch day one?
Oh, yeah. Huge get, wouldn't it?
I mean, you would think like Rockstar would want it there, right?
Yeah, I would think so. But maybe the Switch 2 bombs, bro.
Yeah.
Maybe they just blow up. Maybe they've got like 1 hour battery life, and maybe they cost $700 and nobody wants it.
Wouldn't that be
maybe
something?
Nintendo flies too close to the sun, bro.
You
think? No?
No. I mean, so I do think Xbox's plans for this year could change depending on when Grand Theft Auto releases and what game is releasing close to it. Like I said before, if GTA is coming out in November, say November 5th, and Fable's November 10th, you're delaying Fable. Doesn't matter how much faith you have in Fable. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Grand Theft Auto's coming. It's apocalypse for anything else. You're moving that game. And people would understand. People would be like, oh yeah, well you had to. 100%. Like you ain't releasing against Grand Theft Auto. You're just gonna get destroyed. So you like all those people spent all that time making that game for all those years, only to get cooked by GTA. when you can, you know, when you can put it out whenever you can. It's like everybody, because everybody on Xbox is going to be playing GTA. It doesn't matter that Fable will be in Game Pass. It's like literally everyone's just going to be focused on Grand Theft Auto. It doesn't matter. You move it. I sort of like kind of, there's a part of it, yeah, you know what? It's like, as much as I do want Grand Theft Auto this year, maybe it's best if it was spring 2026. I don't know.
Who owns a Blade Runner IP? Not Disney again, is it?
Does Warner Brothers own it?
I don't know.
Why don't you?
I don't know.
Why don't you type it up? Or no? Is it? Well, it's a Philip K. Dick story. Does he own the IP for it, or is it gone into I mean, he's the author of "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," which is Blade Runner, what Blade Runner is based off of. So, like, does his family, or I don't think he's still alive. Does his family still own the rights to that story? I don't know. Why don't you Google it right now? Just find out, Jez.
Well, let's ask Copilot.
Who owns the rights to Blade Runner?
Owns the rights to Blade Runner? Because there was a good Blade Runner game, but it was almost like point and click adventure game. I played that when I was a kid.
So what does Copilot say here? What does it say about Blade Runner?
Alcon Entertainment?
Okay.
Alcon Entertainment. Oh, that's for print though. I guess. Ooh. Maybe you would have to go to Philip K. Dick to ask who gets the rights to that shit.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Philip K. Dick is dead though.
Oh shit.
I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he is alive, but
damn. Yeah, he's dead. Very, very dead, actually. Yeah. Died in the 80s. For Alcon Entertainment seems to own the franchise rights. And they're a privately held company. They also own the rights to Dude, Where's My Car?
Ooh.
Which is a fantastic movie.
Sean William Scott and Ashton Kutcher. Classic.
Yeah, great movie,
bro. We have a good old Collinwood. It says, "Happy holidays, Rand and Jez." So a month or so ago, Phil Spencer said that the Xbox handheld was in the works, but it was still a few years out. Before then, though, Jez, you said that you had inside knowledge that there would be... Well, before then, though, Jez, you said that you had inside knowledge that there would be a handheld device next year. No one called you out on it. Then when Phil Spencer mentioned it, well, I'm calling you out now. Please explain. And who is Pressy? Oh, you must have not heard, because I definitely called Jez out on that on the podcast. I was like, Jez, remember when you said the handheld's coming next year? You little birdie said that? Phil said 4 years from now. I'm like, what's up with that, bro? What's up with that?
I don't think that was like a report.
Oh, it wasn't on Windows Central, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, we know how those go. Right?
It was just a rumor discussing. It's like my rumor from last month that there would be some kind of new controller launched in December. Like, it's just sometimes like these weird, vague rumors are lost in translation or whatever like that. But I don't think I put that out there as a report. It's just a rumor being discussed. Little birdie says things sometimes, but you know, don't always speak the bird's language.
Sometimes wrong.
Yep,
who is Pressy, Jez? Priesi.
Pressy is our old cat who sadly passed away.
Oh.
I put a picture up on the Patreon of the cat for Christmas. Yeah, Pressy's our old cat. Sadly died of a heart attack or something. Just randomly just dropped dead. Really sad. But he was an awesome cat.
We got Governor Grimm says, "Happy holidays and hope everyone is doing well. Finished Indiana Jones yesterday and was realizing the thing I liked most about it is the way Machine Games made Indiana its own thing and didn't try to beat Naughty Dog or Eidos at Uncharted Tomb Raider. Indiana did murder a ton of people, had to use his wits and fists to get by, or didn't murder a ton of people, had to use his wits and fists to get by. My question is, what games have you played that subverted your expectations by not following the mold? What games would you like to make the same kind of changes?" Jez?
Repeat that, sorry?
What games sort of like subverted your expectations of what they should be?
I mean, the first thing that popped in my head was Indiana Jones.
Well, that's what his question basically is.
Oh, okay. Well, I skipped Indiana Jones then. What game subverted my expectations? That's a really good question. It's kind of tough, actually, to answer. I can think of games that subvert my expectations in a bad way, like Dragon Age Valguard, for example. Dude, I actually think I hate that game. I actually think I hate it. It upsets me. It really greatly upsets me as a Dragon Age fan. Can you think of one, Rand?
I'm trying to think of a game that I thought was going to be one way, but ended up being like something completely different. I just can't think of any.
I mean, funnily enough, you know, and I don't know if this is just the synapses firing in relation to what I just said, but Dragon Age 2 really threw me for a loop. Because I was expecting Dragon Age 2 to be like Dragon Age Origins. But much like Veilguard, they changed the art style, they changed the combat style, they changed a lot of it. And a lot of the criticisms that came through about Veilguard, a lot of people were saying about Dragon Age 2 back in the day. It's like, oh, it's bright and colorful now. It's you know, not as dark as Origins was. It's less tactical than Origins was. Little did we know how well we had it. Because oh boy, Veilguard really took the wrong lessons from Dragon Age 2. Oh man. But I can't think of anything else beyond that at the moment, I suppose.
Well,
Subverted my expectations. I don't know.
okay, so I'll I'll say this one. I do have a couple maybe games, and maybe it's kind of what Governor Grimm was talking about, and maybe it's not. But something like Spec Ops: The Line, for instance, came out at
I've heard good things about that.
well, yeah, but it came out at a time when it's a cover-based shooter, right? Third-person cover-based shooter. So it's sort of like when you start playing it, you get all at the time, like there were so many games that were doing third-person military shooters. So your expectations are this going to be your run-of-the-mill experience. But what sets it apart is that the story of that game and what happens, with the horrors of war. So it's like you go in just expecting this run of the mill, shooter, and you get really a dissertation about like, a man's psyche and the awful things that happen during war, right? Like something that you didn't expect. You were expecting this one thing
Deeper than you
and
expected.
and so that'd be like a game I would be like, all right. It would be one. Another one, I guess, is maybe Portal.
Huh.
Because like I think I just expected it to be a puzzle game where you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna solve these, which it is, but you add the meta commentary and the story on top of it, and it just because it becomes like something else, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's like it's really tough to describe, but it's like going into Portal, you just like, oh, this is like another run of the mill, just puzzle, solve these things. But then there's like a deeper story that goes into it, and all the things that end up until like the final act where you're.
Oh shit, I know. I know the ultimate subverted expectations game. Metal Gear Solid 2. I remember when I was a kid, I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? Because that really pulls a 180 on you, like early on in the game. And at the time when I was a kid, I didn't like it. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. What have they done? They're messing with the game I like. But like looking back on it now, it's like, oh shit, this was actually genius. This was actually genius what they did. That's a pretty stark one. I mean, there's probably loads. It's just hard to pull the old memory out of the drain, I guess. There's a lot from when I was a little kid. Because like back then you kind of don't have the same awareness of what a game is going to be sometimes until you've rented it from Blockbuster.
Yeah, and
A lot of
sometimes
the times it'll be subverted your expectations in a bad way because it'll be like, oh, the marketing for this was really good, and then you play it and it's like, oh, actually this is trash. I think the Division and Destiny both actually, both of those games disappointed me. Like I expected more from them. And they kind of subverted my expectations in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with you on Destiny. Like, I thought it was going to be one thing and ended up being something else completely different.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyways,
Deathloop as well, I think.
Nat Skywalker says, as of this week ahead of New Year's, do we believe Xbox will launch all of the following in 2025? Fable, South of Midnight, Doom, COD 2025, Oblivion Remaster, Avowed, Outer Worlds 2, and 1.0 for Towerborn. Am I missing any non-DLC from first party? Perhaps an Aura console port? This seems like a gargantuan slate if most of that makes it. Cheers and happy holidays. Well, I mean, I did
I
say
think,
in my
yeah.
predictions that anything that was slated for 2025 will release in 2025. So,
Yeah.
you know, it does sound like a lot, does it not? That's what, one,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games? Almost 9 games? I mean, that would be more than they've ever done before. I can't think of any other year that comes close to this. But we've always known at some point it was going to end like this, like end up like this, where it was like they have a shit ton of games because they have a shit ton of studios that are working on a shit ton of projects. And I think we all thought that maybe this would have come earlier in the generation, like 2023, and not necessarily 2025. But it's like it's here, so you have so many projects, so many teams that if you're always like delaying things, it's just gonna run up. You know, if you delay Fable, let's say Fable doesn't make next year, but now Fable's now in 2026, which probably already has 5 games or 6 games planned for release in 2026. You know,
Yeah.
it is a gargantuan slate, and you know, like I don't know. Do you the Aura console port? Do you think that's something that's a priority for them? Because I can't imagine it being.
No, Arrow's like a strange game, in a way, for them to have greened it, I think. Um, Arrow, like, it looked promising, like in the early builds I saw, but it was one of them where it's like, oh, this looks really good in this early build. I bet it'll be much better when it launches, and it's like, oh, actually, the early build was the full thing, you know. Kind of a game that probably should have had an early access period, but I don't know.
We have a super chat here from Cheesy McSqueezy with $4.99. Rand, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you're a comic book fan. If so, I love your thoughts on the Superman trailer. I've watched it like 50 times. I mean, I've read a few comic books in my time. I do like comic book movies for the most part, and Superman's always been one of my favorites. I am a Smallville lover. I watched the Smallville was like one of my favorite shows ever. I used to watch every episode. So, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Zack Snyder's work in the DC universe.
Oh, Rand, you can't say that out loud, bro.
I know, and I'm kind of happy that the Snyder fans
Snyder
are
Bros.
losing their shit over the new trailer. You know, it's like, bro, move on with your life. The Snyderverse ain't coming back, and it wasn't good to begin with. You know?
Oh shit, you went there, bro.
I know,
I
I
can't
did.
believe
I went
you
there.
went there,
I don't.
dude.
I mean, Man of Steel was good, but Batman vs Superman was shit, and Justice League was shit.
Damn.
And Zack Snyder is a director all about substance over. He's all about style over substance. So
Yeah, but I will say this: I fucking love the Watchmen movie, man.
I mean,
That
Watchmen's
was
a good
him, right?
movie. 300's a good movie. Dawn of the Dead's a good movie. His
300.
was it
He did
Sucker? Was
300,
it
right?
Sucker Punch? I think he made was awful. The movie he just did with Netflix, which I can't. Rebel Moon was abysmal. Batman vs Superman was awful. Justice League was awful. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes he's good, but he's all just it's all just style for him. Like there's no substance to any of his stuff. And so I watched the trailer, and the thing is, I think James Gunn is 10 times a director that Zack Snyder is. So I feel like we're going to get a fantastic Superman movie. I'm not the biggest fan of Superman's suit in this one. It looks kind of weird. I'm also not a fan of the tights. I don't know, but I have faith in James Gunn as director to actually deliver a high quality movie. So I am very much looking forward to seeing it when it comes out next year. July 11th, I believe, is the date. I can't wait to see the full trailer. I feel like they sort of missed the mark with Batman, like casting what's his face, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Total miss.
Oh, really?
Total miss. Remember when they did that in Batman vs Superman? They had Jesse Eisenberg as the. It's like what? But I think Nicholas Hoult works out well. He looks good as Lex. So we'll see. I got my fingers crossed. JF says, hey guys, interested in why Sekiro isn't on Game Pass yet? You guys think it has anything to do with the FromSoft and Sony situation? Yeah.
No, I don't think Sony's holding that up. I think that's more a case of like, you know, just working out a deal with them and stuff like that. I don't know.
Could be one of those things that takes a long time. I mean, you think you would want, hey, like Game of the Year 2019 in Game Pass. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. I mean, assuming Activision has the publishing rights to that game, which now Microsoft owns, so you'd figure putting it up there would be something that you'd want to do as soon as possible. Maybe just like with Call of Duty stuff, where we've seen them kind of release these PC ports. Maybe they're making a Sekiro PC port, because I don't think Sekiro's on the Windows Store. So that could be a hold up. Is that they are waiting to do it to launch with PC version, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So, anyways, what else? Anything else you want to talk about, Jez?
Nah, dude. I think we are good.
Just
Can be good.
Looking to see. Oh, Sega wants a gaming sub. I don't know if you saw that news. They want to do their own sort of Game Pass thing.
Oh yeah. Well, they've got the sort of Nintendo Online, which gives you access to the backwards compatible stuff. So they're already in that market, in a way. But I ain't interested in Nintendo, dude. Ever.
Okay.
Are you gonna get a Switch too?
Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. I think it's supposed to be what, $400? So $400 plus a game, because you'd have to get a game, plus a Pro controller, because I can't play that thing on the handheld. I'd have to get a Pro controller. I mean, it comes out to be expensive, that Pro controller is probably $70, 4 plus games probably $70, so you're probably looking at $540 plus taxes. Is there going to be a tariff involved? I don't know. But then again, I've never really ever felt like I'm missing out on any Nintendo discussions. So we'll see. Like, if they have a 3D Mario, I don't know. 3D Mario is never something that really wows me. And I know that's probably going to be the big game for them. And then Mario Kart 9, which I don't care about Mario Kart. So it might be just one of those things. And I don't even know why I bought this Switch, honestly. It was just at some point, I was like, well, maybe I should get one. I got one, and I played like 4 or 5 games on it or whatever. But then again, I mean, hey, I had FOMO for like a couple minutes with the PS5 Pro. There was a couple minutes where I was like, I'm going to add this to my cart. And then I was like, thought better. I was like, why am I buying this? I'm not going to use it, So the FOMO might get me for a couple minutes, but then I'll remain strong, And I probably won't get one. But we'll see, We'll see what Nintendo has up in store for their fans. But yeah, anyways, that is our post-holiday Christmas episode 346 of the Xbox 2 podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. We got New Year's coming up on Tuesday, New Year's Eve on Tuesday, New Year's Day on Wednesday. Hopefully we can have another Xbox 2 plus 1 episode. Maybe not next week, but the week after. We'll see how the schedules are. But thank you guys, and have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you next Friday. Later. Keep it gaming.
Later, guys. Rock and roll, baby.